Every year we'll get better. Who's the guy? No, he didn't have a beard.
Okay, we're back from our closed session. City Attorney, is there reportable action from today's closed session?
No reportable action, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, City Attorney. With that, we will adjourn the Selma City Council special meeting, which we convened at 4:45 PM, and reconvene right now for our Selma City Council regular meeting. And that is April 1, 2025, and it is 6:05 PM in the Selma City Council chambers at 1710 Tucker Street, Selma, California, 93662. Teleconference phone number is 301-715-8592. The webinar ID is 891-6864-5005. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press star 9 to raise your hand and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press star 6 to unmute and mute yourself. Notice to meeting attendees, members of the audience shall not engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct, including the utterance of threatening or abusive language or other acts which disturb, disrupt, or impede or otherwise render the orderly conduct of a city council meeting infeasible. Tonight's invocation will be from Pastor Joe, if you don't mind doing the honors for two meetings in a row. It could be three. This could be the three-peat.
They're trading the fans off.
Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we just thank you, Almighty God, for your gracious love and for that rain, Heavenly Father. We just thank you. We just put this meeting right now, Heavenly Father, in your hands, asking you, Heavenly Father, that your Holy Spirit just guide everything, Heavenly Father, that goes forward. We ask you, Heavenly Father, that you use the ones that you have chosen, Heavenly Father, to lead the city of Selma and to do your work, Heavenly Father. We ask you all this in the name of Jesus Christ, and we thank you and we love you with all our hearts. And we all say,
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please stand for the podium. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Here.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here, potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Agenda changes or deletions to better accommodate members of the public or inconvenience in the order of presentation. Items on the agenda may not be presented or acted on in the order listed. Additions to the agenda may be added only pursuant to California Government Code Section 54954.2b. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item on the special meeting agenda over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have any oral communications at this time? Do we have anybody on the phone or online with oral communications?
Richland, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to our, okay. Oh, come on up, sir.
Mayor, City Council, I just wanted to bring up couple of years ago, I was given some money and we just want to know kind of basically what happened to that. You know, we want to know why we received the money or what went through with that. We never got an explanation. And so I know there's a new council and I've been bringing it up. I'm not seeing it put on the agenda. That's why I was kind of bringing up this matter right now, and I just want to kind of get an explanation of what happened. I know that money was given to us, and I think we've been patient. We comply with everything that was asked of us. Uh, um, it's been a while, and I just kind of would like to know what's going on, and to get a straight answer, because we've never gotten nobody to explain that to us, or we got. I know Amy's no longer with us, but we got Amy to kind of brush us off in a way that wasn't. I don't think it was correct, but I think if we were able to put that on the calendar and be able to understand what's going on, I would appreciate that.
City Manager, were you going to address this during your comments tonight?
Yeah, so I spoke with the deputy city manager. We're looking into the matter. I know there was a budget or a couple of budget years where there was funding allocated. I know there were some improvements being made to the property before it was deemed usable for the program that was being proposed. So because the community services director hasn't been in the office, we're doing a little bit of research to figure out where she had left that. But if the money's due, I mean, we'll definitely let the council know and budget that appropriately and make sure that we're in contact with you, Pastor, and go from there. I'm not very clear as to what the last conversation was that you had with either the community services director or the planning department. So I need to do some research on that.
What was Shar Tucker's actually my president of the board of the Selma Legacy Youth Center, and the last conversation we had was that we were supposed to comply to do the parking lot, and we did the parking lot. We did all the everything that was required from us. We took actions. We did everything, and then when we presented that, and one of the inspectors at that time, which was Robert Agan. He wrote off on everything. And so he told us, you guys are ready to go. Our last conversation that Shar Tucker, and I'm not sure if I should, well, I'm gonna say it the way, it was kind of a threat because Amy Smart told us, if you guys want that money, we're gonna send our city engineers to inspect the building. The building itself didn't have nothing to do with it. It was just a parking lot. And we met with all conditions. I've done a lot of projects here in Selma. I've never had to have a blueprint, to have an engineer go out there and do a evaluation that he did from the building, from the center of the street, from everything. This was an existing building. They had us do, all kinds of different things.
Sure.
I'm not sure a couple of years down the road,
Yeah.
we're still stuck, we wasted all that money, we invested it, and we borrowed that money, and we never got that money back, or we never got an explanation. I was just.
Sure. I do recall, there were some electrical improvements made. There were some site improvements made.
That was all
Right.
approved by the inspectors. We got all the permits. We got everything. Everything was right inside the building.
Sure.
Everything was dealt with the inspector. Robert rolled off on everything.
Mhm.
It was just a parking lot. It had nothing to do with the building no more. It was just a parking lot
Mhm.
that we were dealing with.
So, council, we're still looking into the status of the permits and the approvals. I think there is some engineer approval required. But if there is council action that's going to be necessary to move forward with the payment, we can certainly place this on the agenda. Otherwise, if we deem that he's met all the requirements to receive the funding, we can issue the check and bring a budget amendment back to council for approval.
That's why I requested this item at the last council meeting to be put on the agenda, City Manager, because Pastor Joe and Ms. Tucker, they've been requesting resolution on this item for quite some time now, and I was part of the council, the previous council that voted quite amazingly 5-0 for that council to award the grant money to the Legacy Youth Center, which is kind of the East Side's answer to the Boys and Girls Club in an area that could really benefit from the pastor's unique talents with our youth. And, having said that, I hope that this matter will be expedited. And if it needs to come back to council to get another vote, I don't know why, but if it does, please bring it back at the next council meeting if possible.
Will do.
And please just keep us posted on that. Thank you.
And Pastor Alvarez, I'll reach out to you personally to maybe schedule a time to sit down. We might need your kind of historical perspective on that project as well.
All right, thank you.
Any other oral communications at this time? Okay, with that, we'll move on to our first special presentation, which is Community Services Awards, the 5K Color Run, Brentlinger Park Playground, and Public Works Parks and Rodeo Fair.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Excuse me, I've been a little sick for the last week, so my voice might be a little cracky. But we are here tonight to celebrate a few wins within our community. So in February, the City of Selma attended the California Parks and Recreation District 7 Awards and Installation Dinner, and we were the recipients of a few awards. And so we're here to share with you the awards that we have received within the Community Services Department and the Public Works Department. And so through a competitive process, the City of Selma received 3 awards at the award and installation dinner, 2 of which I'm going to talk about tonight, and 1 where my colleague Matthew Tiger is going to talk about. So the first award I would like to share with you is the first place trophy for our Selma Public Works Department. And so I'm going to talk about it a little bit before I present it. So every year, CPRS District 7 hosts an annual rodeo and vendors fair for public works staff. So what this event is, it's like an appreciation event for public works guys. And so that last year it was hosted in Tulare. And so this award goes back for November 2024. And so in 2024, I took over as the District 7 president for CPRS, and my main goal, my one wish that I expressed to our parks guys was I really wanted them to take first place during my presidency. The year prior, they had taken second place. They had gotten really close, and so during my presidency, I said, just bring back first place. And I challenged them, and they did bring back first place, and so it was a great honor. During this event, they participated in a 2-man saw cut, in a PVC pipe race, in a leaf blower relay, and a mower obstacle course. There was about 10 different agencies from the Central Valley, communities as big as Tulare, Bakersfield, and smaller communities like Dinuba, Reedley, and Kerman that all participated in this event, and Selma took first place. And so it's an honor to present this award today to one of our public works staff. So Angel Perez is one of our public works parks guys, and he took the lead on this and did an amazing job. And so I am presenting this award to Angel Perez today.
Thank you, Liz. My name's Angel Perez. I'm going on 4 years with the City of Selma and blessed to have the opportunity to work and serve the people of Selma. I'm here representing all public works from streets to buildings. Everybody, we put hard work in everything we do and pride to all the jobs we get assigned to. And thank you, Liz.
All right.
I now owe them a barbecue. So we are planning to do a little barbecue lunch with them over at the Public Works Yard. And so we'll be scheduling that soon just to celebrate this accomplishment. Like I said, it was something that I wished they would bring home during my presidency, and they did. And so I was very proud of them. It was a good event.
Great job.
So the second award that I am going to be speaking about today is one that is going to go back to our Community Services Department. So the second award that we received was an Outstanding Facility Award for Brentlinger Playground. So this was a competitive process that, agencies from the Central Valley are able to apply for. And we took the gold, we took the plaque, we took the win. And so this was a project that our Community Services Department took on back in 2023. And through the very competitive bid process, we elected Miracle Playground to go ahead and assist us with the design and the installation of the Brentlinger Playground. The idea behind Brett Linger was to create a space where we could celebrate and build a space where children of all abilities can come and play and create memories. And our goal was to also nurture and create an educational component with that at Brett Linger. And so hence why we went with the space themed. In 2024, we also did an event out there called Starry Nights, where we invited the Central Valley Astronomers Club to come out. And they did a wonderful astronomy presentation, and they brought their telescopes, and it was well received through the community. Our goal is to continue those events, and we're currently planning more of those for this coming year. And so I'm going to just leave off with saying that Brett Linger has really just created a new standard for what our playgrounds are going to be looking like in the future. And so I'm really excited to hopefully be part of that process and make sure that, you know, we're building facilities that are inclusive to all and are just a safe, fun space for everybody. And so that's all I have. Yep. Yeah. The last award, I'm going to let Matthew talk about. This one is one that I dedicated to him. And so you'll be able to hear about that in just a second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a lot brighter up here than it looks on YouTube, I'll tell you what. So the award I'm here to present to everybody is the Outstanding Program Award for our 5K color run that took place in November of last year. This was the first program that Liz actually trusted me to run by myself in my new role as the Community Services Coordinator. And so Community Services hosted its first ever 5K color run. This was when I got brought on. They told me that they wanted to bring a run to Selma, that was something that they were looking to do. And so we kind of put our heads together and figured out what's a way to introduce a run to a city that hasn't had a run or that doesn't do runs. And that's to make it more fun and more family friendly. And so we decided to do a color run, make it a little bit more artistic, which is kind of the theme that we're going for towards downtown. And so our course actually runs through downtown. It's very similar to the parade, the BAM Festival parade. And so we ran through that. We had over 140 pre-registered runners and over 150 participants that actually ran in the day. We had over 15 volunteers actually volunteer for the event, mostly high schoolers that were looking to actually throw color on runners, which was a fun way to volunteer for time. And we had 10 staff members there working the event as well. So this is one of our larger events since I've been on staff that we've ran ourselves, and it went very well. So this success actually provided Liz with a reason to put this up for the CPRS Most Outstanding Award. And like she said before, it's very competitive. We go against programs in Fresno, Tulare, Visalia, and cities of much larger than ours. And so it was kind of cool to bring home an award like this. We just wanted to promote downtown, promote healthy, fun activities for the community that kind of bring the community together in a unique way. Seeing everybody lined up in white at the starting line, and then when they're finishing coming through covered in color, that was just an experience that you can't really recreate. And so we're looking forward to running it again. We want this to become an annual event. So November 15th, we will open registration in July for it. So you can't miss out on that one. We're going to get more color. It's going to be the same route going through our beautiful downtown that keeps getting better every year. And yeah, so thank you guys all. And this is the award that we got. Just wanted to show it off. Thank you guys.
Keep up the good work and keep making us proud. Thank you so much for that. With that, we'll move on to our second special presentation, which is a report on the activities of the Selma Animal Shelter, actually Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Arvine Sandhu from the Selma Animal Services Advisory Committee giving you a report. The other members of the committee are here as well. We had our first meeting on the 13th of March at 2 o'clock. In attendance was City Manager, the Mayor, and Council Member Oseguera, Nydia Juarez, Kelly Guerra, Sarka Rodriguez, and Terry Rockle from the shelter. I was not present at that meeting, but I did get a full report from staff. The second meeting was held last week on the 26th at 9:30 in the morning. That was a more impromptu meeting just to be able to see what was happening and also to be able to grab staff, before the end of the day. The scope of this these meetings was really to kind of get an overview of what the shelter needs, what are the challenges before we get into the nitty and gritty, as directed by the ad hoc committee. First meeting was a little bit more challenging to schedule because there was conflicting schedules for city staff, and then trying to get in conjunction with the shelter staff and the volunteers on the committee. But what we learned from this, or from both of these meetings cumulatively, was that originally, back in December of 2023, city hired 3 industry experts to hit the ground running for this new shelter that we were going to establish, January 1st. And they are, industry experts. They have been in the industry for 15, 20 plus years. With that in mind, the expectation was that things would improve. And surely the first half of the year of last year, that did happen. We have a lot of adoption events, a lot of things going on, exciting things going on to promote the dogs, all that kind of stuff. With that, there were less number of dogs, animals within the shelter, so they were able to go ahead and do all of those types of things. But once, more animals started coming into the shelter, all of those types of things, they started facing the challenges of our community and of what resources that they lacked. The original vision of this shelter, or what's going to happen in maybe the 7 to 10 years plan, is to make a big hub, per se, like a Fresno Humane or something, to be able to service our communities, right? Kingsburg, Fowler, Selma, Singer, Parlier. So that way we have a big centralized location where we can take care of our animals. Excuse me, I've been sick this last week, so voice is a little cracking. And that's a great outlook, but for the last year, obviously it's going to take time to get there, right? We need the infrastructure, we need the funding, and that's why it's like the big plan, the big picture, which is 7 to 10 years. But what we've seen in talking to staff, we've spent around approximately $400,000 in repairs at their facility, or infrastructure upgrades that weren't there previously for the previous contractor, or that just needed to be done. And that we don't know what those are. So we'll go ahead and ask for a breakdown just to see what they are. When we can visibly see a lot of things, such as insulation being put in on the main floor, insulation being put in what was old intake building, things that were needed definitely to help keep these animals comfortable, which was not provided before, because funding is always challenging and it just wasn't available. So the question that we have as a committee, where did this funding come from? Was it grants? Was it, and who allocated it? If it wasn't grants, and how was it approved? And the next piece is staffing. They are understaffed. Right now, the shelter only has 3 employees. They have, as of the 26th, 51 animals. That's 3 people for 51 animals. I don't know what the numbers are as of today, but I'm pretty sure they're around that point, give or take a couple. So they definitely need staff. Positions were approved starting in December of 2023, and then I believe another 2 subsequent occasions after that. There were budget revisions done, and even at budget, positions were added. Now, why additional personnel were not added to the payroll, that's also a question. Animal care officers is what they're called, or kennel techs. Those are definitely needed. They only have 1 kennel tech right now. 1 kennel tech can't go around taking care of 51 animals. That's not good. Animals will not get cared for properly. And then you have your field services manager, which is another term for animal control officer or animal care officer. We only have one of those. So we're running a 6-day operation with just one person. Again, we need more downline staff. The manager there is top heavy. We have more managers than we do the downline staff, which leaves the managers and the director to fill in those gaps. We're paying high salaries to managers. They're not able to fulfill their other duties because they're cleaning kennels, they're doing all those types of things. So we need to focus on what the real needs are, which are downline staff. We were informed that they are recruiting currently for additional animal care officers, another field services officer, but that was closing, I believe, on the 30th and the 1st. So that's going to leave a gap of at least a month, right? I mean, with government, we have to interview, go through the background process, all that kind of stuff. So for the next month, the shelter is going to be 3 people. That leaves a big gap in the care and staff burnout, right? What happens when somebody calls out? So those issues should have been directed and relieved when those positions were allocated, because we allocate positions based on need, right? So if we needed those positions when they were allocated, they should have been filled, which they were not. You know, it seems like when these positions started to get backfilled, when 2 top management positions were vacated. So that is a need and it needs to be fulfilled. Bilingual. We've been waiting for bilingual staff because our community is bilingual. We need a Spanish-speaking person there to be able to communicate with those that are not able to speak English. And we do have a majority of the community that has that need. So I know that other council members have expressed that in the past. So moving forward, we need to make sure that that is a requirement for staff that's going to be hired to be able to communicate with the community. The volunteer program. They do have a volunteer program. We do have about 10 volunteers. Volunteers are not paid, right? They come whenever they can or they want and they're able. Those are volunteers that are over 18. And typically most of them will come on the weekends when they're free and not working. And those duties are given out or dispersed based off experience, as they should. What type of experience that they have. So little to no experience, you're going to be doing laundry, bowls, dishes, stuff like that. You know, the more experience you have with dog handling, you might be able to walk the dogs, clean the kennels, that sort of thing, because the primary need is going to be to clean kennels and feed dogs, right? Or cats or any other animals that they're getting in. So that's a primary need. But if you don't have staff to do it, or have very little staff, staff's going to get burnt out. So volunteer program is a must. Now that goes into the regulations for the city that they need to look into. Currently, our volunteers are over 18. We take volunteers that are adults. We have middle school programs and high school programs where these students need to get their community service hours. So we need to develop a program or a protocol or something as a city so that we can utilize this help, especially now when we have these juniors and seniors that are filling out their college applications and needing those community service hours. I don't think we need to be a nonprofit for those community service hours. They can definitely, you know, go to hospitals, even volunteer at the police station, stuff like that. So why not at the shelter where they can come and help? Previously, at the old shelter, students would come in and take care of their community service hours. You know, and good volunteers become good employees. So there's that potential there when they turn 18 that they can apply for a job because they already have that volunteer experience. And then it also helps them connect with the community. We still have students that were volunteers at the shelter. and worked at the shelter and moved on to college. And they would come back during their breaks to volunteer again at the shelter to work with the animals, giving back to the community. So we want to keep that rapport. So that's important. So we need to have some sort of protocol, go through the liabilities, sit down with the attorney and see what we can do. It's doable. That will alleviate a lot of the burden for the staff. Okay. And right now, they don't have enough staff to oversee the volunteer program, right? So with staffing, they will be able to have a good program as well for the volunteers. So go back, it all ties back to staffing. We discussed the internet connection issue. I mean, they have internet connection to be able to get onto social media and then to be able to do their data entry into their data entry system, which is PetPoint. So they have those capabilities to be able to do their daily tasks. What they can't do is get into the city server. That's secure. I'm not sure how often they need to be able to get into the into the city server. It may be, once or twice a week, but that's the lag time there. I'm sure that the ID department can set up some sort of portals or secure portals like we all have, unfortunately or fortunately, built over COVID and all of that to be able to work remotely. So there's a lot of like pass keys and, I don't know, we use like Okta Verify systems, all of those types of things that can be put into place so that they can get into the server securely. So there should be no internet connectivity issues. What we also realized was the city needs a dedicated website for the shelter. There is, once you get on the city's website, there is a section dedicated to the animal shelter, but there's not a lot of information. It kind of gives a vague overview of where the shelter is at, what the hours are, et cetera, but there's nowhere where you can go from the city shelter and say, okay, these are the dogs that came in, these are the dogs that are available, here's the fees, what's the promos, what are the bios, that would help a lot. Having to click multiple places or not knowing where to go discourages people from adopting or fostering. Get the IT team on it, they can develop it, it's really simple. PetPoint will work with your, whatever you enter into on there, it'll shoot it over to that website, automatically feed it. It works pretty seamlessly. That will also help because it's a part of networking. Staff said dogs need to be networked or the animals need to be networked. So not everybody has social media. And so if we can get these animals easy to view, they will get home. So rescues will be able to see them better and all of that because staff is busy taking care of them. They may not have the time to be able to network these dogs or sit on the phone or email constantly, but if they can see pictures and bios, it's an easy place to go, right? And then ordinances. This has been a pain point for all of us for many years. We want to do good. We want to do what's right. However, how do we make it happen if it's not the law? It's with anything. It's with trash. It's with dogs. It's with anything that we have. We want to do the right thing, but how do we make the public comply if we don't have ordinances? So, what the pet population keeps growing. We see more and more strays. We're picking them up. Okay, so now where the shelters are full, there's no funding, all of that. It's a cycle that keeps going round and round. We need to have ordinances for mandatory microchipping, mandatory spay and neuter. How does that happen? Mandatory spay and neuter and microchipping at the time of licensing, right? We're requiring animals to be licensed that, for citizens throughout the city. So if those things are required, that'll help. Will it get all of them? No. But as these animals and these strays come through the shelter, they will be microchipped, which 99.9% of them do get microchipped once they come into the shelter. Or even not, if they're, where they live, it's a repeat offender, a frequent flyer, you you microchip, and staff is doing that. They're microchipping these dogs, making sure that we know where they belong. They're also working with code compliance and entering all of that data. Okay, such and such address has this dog. Let's make sure that they're filing their license and all of that kind of stuff. But if we're able to spay and neuter this dog at the same time, we're decreasing that population as well. So we're not going to see another litter of 6 or 12 in the future. Unfortunately, once a dog goes into heat, other dogs will want to get out. In its nature, they're going to get out. They're going to break out of their confined areas to procreate, unfortunately. So that will help, but we need the help of the council to develop these ordinances. Is it going to happen overnight? No, but we do know that there's talks being had of this, but it's been 14 months. So we need to move in the right direction so that staff can actually enforce these rules. They don't technically or every day penalize residents for having stray animals, right? You don't want them to be like, okay, well, it's going to be $50 to come reclaim your dog if they can't afford that. So, you try to help them out. But if they're frequent flyers and they're coming in all the time, you have to go ahead and the protocols need to be set. Because right now, they don't charge to reclaim your dog, which is great because it's incentive for the dog owner or cat owner to come in and get your animal. Funding. We need funding for spay and neuter clinics. Sure, we're going to set up an ordinance, but where is that money going to come from? So that money needs to be set aside. Yes, directors and the managers will, try to look for grants and whatnot, but there's that just drops in the bucket, right? So many agencies are competing for these grants as well. They're out there, but we as a community need to set funding aside for these things as well to make it advantageous for residents to go ahead and take advantage of this. If we're making them do it, let's help them actually achieve that goal. Okay. Events. The last half of the year, we haven't seen a lot of events. No adoption clinics, spay and neuter clinics, vaccination clinics. It's because they're short-staffed. They're taking care of the animals that are there, so they're not able to go out and do these extra things. Now, we did offer, SCARS did offer to help. We are willing to help walk the dogs. If there's other events in the community, take them out so these dogs can be seen because they're short-staffed. We have no problem doing that. Other adoption events, we'll take some of their dogs as well so that they're seen. Ultimate goal is for low numbers in the shelter, right? So we need to help that with that. They have an awesome adoption trailer that just needs to be set up. It has AC and all of that kind of stuff. So they can take that to events, especially in the spring and summertime, where it'll be cool and they can showcase their dogs and cats. They have received a grant that's going to pay for at least half of wrapping it. So that way, it has the logos and all that kind of stuff. So that's a great thing. But again, if they don't have the staff to go ahead and do that, they're not going to be able to attend these events, which also goes back to volunteers. Volunteers need to be able to participate and help in these types of events. It doesn't necessarily need to be paid staff. Little things that we noticed, like I said, was just an overview of what we wanted to see, but little things that we did notice, and it goes back to time that they have because they're only, yes, staff is there 7 days a week. They're only open to the public 6 days a week, but not having enough people, they have to spread their workforce out. So we learned that the kennels aren't cleaned every day. They're spot cleaned. They're not washed out every day as they should be. It's because they just probably don't have the time. If it's not super dirty, they just spot clean it. That's something that needs to happen. There was something that brought up about the drains. The drains are there. The facility is what it is, but they can be utilized and they can be cleaned properly. It was 9:30 when we went on Wednesday. They were behind. because there was only 3 of them, and they had, I believe, transport in the morning. So, they were behind on cleaning. So, and with having 51 animals, that, puts them behind because they also have to take their lunches and breaks, right, for California law. So, that needs to happen, but the cleaning needs to be on par because that leads to sickness, and then you're spending more money at the vets. They're not able to do dog assessments. They're doing the assessments as they can. Again, resources, right? So they typically do them on the weekends when they have volunteers. But, and we have a dog trainer on the committee who's offered multiple times, like, hey, I can come out and do assessments for you guys. I can help train your dogs. That offer hasn't been reclaimed or utilized. That's a great asset to have a dog trainer say, I'll do it for free and won't charge you. That helps staff, and that also helps the dogs, right? And then she can also help train staff, say, hey, no, this is probably a better way to work with this dog and this dog. And that's free training for your staff. That's something definitely to utilize. And then, just utilize the assistance. We're here, the community is here. Let's all work together as a common goal, right? There's no you, us, or whatever. This is a community effort. We're here to help the animals. So let's do it in whatever fashion that we can so that we're all successful. Overall, we did get euthanasia numbers for last year, which was easily provided. So 40 animals were euthanized last year. Most of those cases were like failure to thrive is what we were told. And then 44 animals did die, and those are mostly bottle babies, which are kittens. Kittens are hard. It's kitten season right now. It's going to be for the next few months. They're hard. 50% of the kittens will die. And it's hard to keep them alive. Again, resources, fosters, all of that kind of stuff. They need the help. And that goes back to look at, okay, budget. What is the budget for the shelter? We did see they're top heavy. They need less management and more downline staff to be able to take care of the everyday things so that management is freed up to take care of the big stuff, right? The grants, the funding, the ordinances, the events. They're able to take care of all of that while the downline staff is taking care of the day-to-day. So our recommendation is to hire more staff for them and not have as many top management positions right now from what we see. Again, we're still a month away from them being, close to fully staffed, if that. Any questions?
Sure. I want to say thank you to the advisory committee for going out and volunteering your hard-earned time. Really appreciate your coming to the shelter and sharing your expertise. I think what you stressed was a partnership with the city. No recriminations about the past, no recriminations about the future, just work together. And I think that's where we're headed. And I really appreciate you going out twice. Councilmember Oseguera and I are on the ad hoc committee together with you. And we accompanied you on the first visit out there. The city manager was also there with the former director. And I think that's going to be a good launching point. Before I ask my questions, did any other council members have any questions for the advisory committee?
Comment. I'm working with city attorney because we want to look at the law about dumping. We want to make Selma a dumping-free city because you know what? It's happening everywhere. And we all agree that it's against the law. So we're trying to look at what the law says and then trying to add it to our city ordinance. Because you know what? There's a lot of cameras out there, and I know a lot of these people are on camera that are dumping all these poor animals. And that needs to stop. And it needs to stop soon. So, like I said, City Attorney Constanzo has been working with me, and hopefully we'll nip it in the bud as soon as we get some more time and information on that.
That would be great. When gas was around, we did see that. And, we did have photos and all of that. Police reports were filed, and it just, went nowhere. It doesn't go anywhere because nobody has the time or the funding or to go after these people. There's no teeth. So we definitely need better ordinances that can punish those that are dumping their dogs and hold them accountable.
Thank you. Also, have you decided on when do you have like a schedule in mind on when you guys are going to go out to the shelter?
We just went out last week. Definitely want to give staff time to recoup and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we can go out every couple weeks, let them know like, hey, we want to come out around this time. We don't want to be a burden to them because they are short staffed, but we're here to help. So like, we're willing to come out in the morning and help you guys clean, do bowls, all that kind of stuff. That will help us also see, where their shortcomings are, what they need, because we're also experiencing it firsthand with them. So, we're there to be a partner. We're not there to like sit there and record them or have a microscope on them. No, we're here to learn from them and express that to you because we're just being their voice, right? It's just
Right.
a neutral third party.
When you go out there, do they stop whatever they're doing and just come up and try to attend to you, or do they just do their job and you just observe?
This
And
last,
interact.
the first meeting I wasn't there, but they, that was a more formal meeting.
That was.
This second meeting, Ms. Breyer, she was great. She definitely talked to us for about an hour. And another staff member was there as well, was with the ACO, and they did stop what they were doing, but we didn't want to interfere, but we got a lot of information, like a lot of surface level information. And then a couple of our other committee members, went through the kennels and they did offer like, hey, do you guys need help? Like we can do bowls, laundry, anything like that. But that was already being taken care of. So they do continue to work. And again, our intention is not to get in their way. It's just to kind of work alongside them and get the information. We have a good rapport. Ms. Breyer sent me I asked for forms and applications. Those were sent as well, so very quickly. So that was great to be able to see what the packets look like, all that kind of stuff, so that we can help and say, oh, hey, we have something like this. Is this something that you guys could use, just to work as a partner? So that's working out well. So we are hoping to go out like every couple weeks or every 3 weeks, just to go in and observe and then help whenever we can.
Great. And maybe the next time you're out there, since we're getting close to budget time, maybe as you get a better relationship or just a more working relationship with the folks at the shelter, maybe you could come up with some guidelines or recommendations for additional staffing at the shelter numbers. Another item that I had a question about was, and maybe you guys could look into it in the future, would be the contract with Kingsburg and Fowler. If we're short-staffed and they can barely take care of the dogs that they have right now, what are we doing taking other dogs from other cities? So if you could address that question. And then finally, when we were out there the first time, Councilman Oscara and I met with the previous director, and she mentioned that the protocol for animals that are picked up after hours is for PD to put them in the back of a patrol car and take them to the emergency hospital in Fresno, which I don't know if that's the best solution because it ties up PD in Fresno for a long time and it's costly, and it, maybe that could be looked at as well for an alternate procedure in the future.
Definitely. That is why we need multiple ACOs, right? So that way we're spreading them out. A work week is 40 hours and anything over is overtime, and that costs obviously money. So if we have 2 ACOs, we're spreading them out so that way they're able to provide that off hours coverage so that we're not utilizing PD, which is not what they're supposed to do. It takes anywhere between 3 to 10 hours, and then we've done it sitting at the ER, depending on severity. So we don't need an officer sitting there. Minimum time for an officer is going to be an hour, right? 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. So that's an hour that they're away from their job, from the citizens of Selma. That's definitely.
And if there's staff available, they would be the ones to take them to the hospital if they're injured. So to relieve the burden on the police department in those instances. And if I
Absolutely.
may, Mayor, if I could address Ms. Sandhu's report. Thank you so much. That was a very, obviously the first time I've heard the report, but very helpful points that you've made. You know, being out there, the first meeting that you had, I got a good sense of kind of what kind of things you're looking at and what you're looking for, what information I think is definitely going to be helpful for us to continue to improve. I think an outside perspective is always welcome and beneficial for improvement. Definitely some things that I would probably clarify with regard to staffing that, you know, I think you probably caught us at a bad time in terms of transitions, and it's just a matter of, you know, the timing. For the most of the year, we've been pretty fully staffed. And I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll be back to full staffing, I think, as you mentioned. But any help that we can get from the committee, if these meetings are going to be working meetings, we won't say no to that at all. I think that's always welcome. And the volunteer program, I know Councilmember Oseguera has mentioned that pretty frequently, which is something that we definitely want to kind of beef up a little bit. You know, I think in general, you mentioned the cleaning of the kennels. Part of the issue, and you'll hear this during budget time, council, is the fact that the concrete floors are not sealed. And so, you know, washing them with the water hose, you know, has its issues. And we end up having to mop the kennels, and that's why it's so time consuming. There are drains, but, you know, when you've got animals that are sick and you're spraying with a hose, you know, that sickness can spread to other animals pretty easily, right? And so there's some of it is as a precautionary measure, and it does set us back. I know Director Breyer is familiar with that, the whole thing. But absolutely, I think with enough funding, but strategic funding, and, you know, with staff resources as well, we won't turn that down at all, because we know that, you know, we could always use more help there, whether it's paid or volunteer. But at the end of the day, I appreciate the committee's time. I think the time that you've spent there and the time that our staff has spent in interacting with you has been, you know, a breath of fresh air. And we look forward to seeing how we can work with everybody. Obviously, staff is going to have our own recommendations. The police chief, I think, at some point should be involved, as well as me, with kind of, you know, determining, okay, you know, I think from a perspective of the administrative and management level of the department, you know, obviously we need some of the lower line staff to be able to do the legwork. But early on in the year, we were very active in networking and adoptions and events, as you mentioned. And the grant funding is going to be extremely important, and I think we're going to be focusing on that. We were able to secure that trailer to take out to events. We just need to wrap it. And so, you know, I think there's a need for both the administrative side that is more proactive on the networking and adoption side, and also the animal care side, which also goes into the animal control side, right? So a lot of moving parts, but I think we have enough resources in Selma. One thing I think I would probably bring up as well is the relationship that we have with other agencies, like Fresno County. One conversation I've had pretty frequently with former Director Rockhold is the fact that the county itself is turning away, you know, animals being dropped off at their shelters. So people that have an animal with nowhere to take it will just go to the nearest city that will take them, right? And which is, in a lot of cases, Selma. And we have no way of verifying where they picked up these animals, whether outside the city limits or within the city limits. And that presents a challenge and an opportunity to collaborate with, you know, the Fresno County Shelter or City of Fresno Shelter or whatnot. So I think any input that you might have in those avenues would be welcome. So anyway, thank you so much for that report. We look forward to continuing to work with you.
I have a quick question. It was a great report. Thank you. But my question will be for the attorney. You mentioned mandatory spay and neuter for the city. Is that something that we can do, Neil?
It is, you need a trigger to do it, and the trigger is typically the point at which you have your animal licensed by the city. I think, and Councilmember Oseguera asked about doing something to prohibit the dumping of animals. There are already penal code provisions that deal with that. but you can certainly make those a lot stronger. And I think what you really need is a comprehensive change to your existing ordinance that covers all of these things. You know, the licensing, the leash law, the spaying and neuter mandate, all of those things in one comprehensive ordinance to deal with these issues. And I gather that your committee members have suggested forms of typical ordinance that they would like to see. So I'll get those from
I
them
believe Kingsburg has
and work
an ordinance
with them to put something on your books that covers all the bases.
And I think along with that, I know with my experience from 2013 when we built the shelter for nothing and 25,000 of bequeath funds from Juanita Smith, that big building that is still there now, that is still providing adequate shelter for the animals. We had an issue with getting animals rabies shots and getting them licensed, and the trigger for that was to have 3 clinics. We would have them in January, February, and March. That's not been continued. It might be something to look at in the future. And the city would do that because the animal licensing was required in April 1. And so you'd have 3 shot clinics before that, so people could have a low-cost alternative. It's expensive. And making mandatory spay and neuter is really expensive. So, I mean, the Hope Center does it for $110 right now, but not a lot of people will take the extra time to drive their animals up to Fresno at 7 o'clock in the morning and check them in. So there has to be an educational component of that to make sure people know how important it is to spay and neuter their animals. And the licensing is definitely a way to do that, but then it has to be enforced that all the animals have the license, and the vaccines as well. So I look forward to your next report. Appreciate all the really good input. It sounds like we're moving forward as one now. Now we are, and we're all on the inside. We're all taking care of their animals. There are no outsiders here because it's our animals that are in Selma, whether they come from county or not. They're our issue, and we're going to take care of it, and we're going to take care of them like we always have in a professional way and in a loving, caring way. So thank you for that. And if you need anything in the meantime, please reach out and let us know. But it sounds like you're developing your own relationship with the current staff. And again, it's budget time, so looking forward to hearing your suggestions for the number of folks that should be at the shelter, and, look at the salary too, which I requested at the last council meeting. Thank you. Any other comments from the public for the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee before we move on to the consent calendar? Anybody online or on the phone?
Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
With that, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does council have any items or an item that they would like removed tonight?
Yes, I do. There. I'd like to remove 2.5 for a later date on the calendar.
Like to table that?
Table that later on, yes.
Well, when we take it up, you can make a motion to table it, council
I'm gonna
member.
make a motion to table that issue.
We'll get there. We're
Okay.
just taking them off right now. I'd like to take item 2.6 off.
And I'm gonna take 2.7.
Okay, beat me.
Is there a motion to approve items 2.1 through 2.4?
So
Make
moved.
them second.
Sorry.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, item 2.5.
The reason why I want to make a motion to table this later on, I've been reading on this issue here. There's some question marks on this particular issue. And I wanted to table it for a later date because I don't think the people that we sent letters to they were notified. And there was some, the city sent a letter to the HE's housing thing, but we have no privilege to look at that letter, that information. So that's why I'm tabling this issue, but for a later date.
Okay. Council input on that before we ask staff for their input?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I believe, and I'll hand it over to Deputy City Manager. This is just a formal requirement in order for us to have our housing element approved. And so I just wanted clarification as to the letters that were sent out that you're referring to that people didn't receive. Is there, were you talking about the letter that the city received or
The set of that the city sent out to the housing.
HCD?
Yeah, HCD.
Can you elaborate on that, Deputy City Manager?
I can. I don't know if the reference is the letter that was received from HCD about the conditional approval for the housing element and the need to make these revisions to the ordinance are requirements of state law. And in order for our housing element to be certified and approved by HCD, these requirements need to be included in the housing element. We conducted a public hearing in accordance with state law that requires an 8th-page ad because it affects more than 1,000 people. We had conducted the public hearing both at Planning Commission and at City Council. And so this would be the third time it's been brought before the local agency to be heard and considered. That being said, the letter from HCD, I believe, was included in the staff report in all instances where it was brought forward, so.
Maybe I could clarify as well, council member, are you asking for the letter that the city sent to the
Yes.
folks who had their
There.
lots rezoned and the neighbors to those with the lots that were
Yeah.
rezoned?
Yeah, so I wanted, information on that issue.
You want to see the letters
I want to see the letter.
Okay.
from the city?
Yeah, we sent letters to all the property owners that were affected by the rezone so that they were informed and they had the opportunity to approach staff and request that they either be excluded or have further discussion as to what the impacts of their property were. I received, personally, I received at least one phone call from one of the property owners that received letters. But staff has copies of those letters and we'd be willing to provide those to City Council if asked. Again, this inventory list is not a requirement to construct affordable housing. It's a requirement to make sites available in the event that there's a proposal for affordable housing. There's a clear difference in the fact that we have sites available to construct affordable housing instead of forcing affordable housing onto people at that location. In addition, again, this is a requirement of our regional housing needs allocation dictated by the state of California. The housing element is a general plan required element. We cannot have a compliant general plan to approve other projects such as other rezones, annexations, development projects if a portion of our general plan is in non-compliance. And so this would be the last item needed to maintain compliance of our general plan. And I would advise that staff followed the appropriate precautions in notifying property owners. We complied with the law for public notice requirements of Planning Commission, City Council, and this has been a properly agendized and thoroughly vetted item that has been placed on the website in multiple iterations, at least 3 times. It was been presented at public workshops, public hearings, and we feel that we are above reproach in terms of notifying A, the property owners, but B, the public with regards to what we're
I don't think the council member is even reproach is a proper verb. I think he's just doing his due diligence as a council member, and I'm following up, asking questions as well in terms of, one question I have is if they did not want to have their lot rezoned, you moved on, right? It's not mandatory to have your parcel of land rezoned from R2 to R4, for instance, correct?
From the city perspective, we identified key lots that met appropriate size and the standards needed to have a zone district of R4 to be able to accommodate affordable housing if it was proposed on that site. If someone were to approach us and say, I don't want my property rezoned, we would have looked for another property that met that criteria. And so we sent the letters out, I believe, with language to reach out to us to have that discussion. And we would have addressed people's concerns if they had a concern. As we stated, we were reached out by numerous property owners about receiving their letter about their property being rezoned and what that meant. And so, again, if someone had submitted a letter in writing, come to a public hearing, we would have revised our inventory list accordingly.
Related question, how did you notify the neighbors of those parcels? That those areas were
The
proposed to be
neighbor-
rezoned?
The neighbors weren't notified. There was no requirement for them to be notified because they didn't own the property.
Is
The-
that standard operating procedure?
When we have a rezone or an item such as the housing element that impacts more than 1,000 people, state law requires us to publish an 8th-page ad for public hearing requirements for that item. in
That
accordance
was
with the
published
ROPAC.
in which publication, Deputy City Manager?
Selma Enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially the notice to the neighbors is the public hearing notice. And so, and then also the agenda for when we have the public hearing. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is to certify, and if you could clarify, Deputy City Manager, is there a expiration on the conditional approval that HCD gave us?
I believe so. I think we had a date specific. I don't remember offhand, but
Okay.
in order to keep our housing element compliant, there was a drop dead date to
Yeah.
have this completed.
And so that effect, if we don't have a compliant or certified housing element, it keeps us from getting a lot of grants that are, related to housing, sustainability, those kinds of things.
Okay, the next question I'm going to ask is, okay, now, the areas that you identify, these areas, were the council notified on these issues?
Yeah, this was put on various agendas
These,
previously.
areas that you identify, property, where the council notified is up here.
Yes, and to be clear,
Because I don't have a notification, that's what I'm asking.
no, I understand. And to be clear, I believe the original housing element certification occurred, I think, in November, before the current council was seated up there. And so the rezones that were proposed at that time so we've had 6 hearings related to the housing element. This would be the 6th where this has been brought before a governing body. So we had Planning Commission where the rezone inventory list was presented to Planning Commission. We had a city council hearing where that same list was presented. Then we had a second reading of the rezone ordinance for that as well. So this has been brought a total of 6 times to a public venue to be discussed.
And, it wasn't, the 2006 housing element wasn't certified and it was left until, I think, 2018. So it can happen sometimes. So, I mean, there are deadlines and there are deadlines. So, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with
No,
this,
I
council
just
member.
don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel comfortable on this thing, I need to analyze this more, because some of this information I wasn't privileged, okay? And that's why I'm a question, some of these issues and how the property owners were notified in the past and notified, and the council notified, we sent a letter to so-and-so property, so-and-so over here. And I want, see, I don't have privilege to this information, number one. So I'm asking to table this item until I have information on these items, okay? So we can move forward on these direction of property where the council can move forward on this.
When would you want to table it until? When would
wanna
staff, until next meeting?
Yeah, I want to table this issue.
Okay, would staff have time to produce those letters?
Well, yeah, I mean, and to be honest, Councilmember, I appreciate your request and we'll definitely get you those letters. I think when we're time constrained on approvals like this, it's always helpful if you approach staff prior and we can get that information to you prior to the council meeting to maybe allay your concerns before the item, is voted upon for approval. We would have been happy to provide that, last week or whenever these concerns came up. But my only concern is the drop dead date on the conditional approval of the from HCD. If it's, before April 15th, then I think we could have an issue. But if it's any time after that, then I don't see any issue with tabling it if that's the case.
Okay, so are you making a motion to table it
I'm
until
making-
the
I'm-
April 15th meeting?
Yeah, I'm making a
Councilmember?
motion to table this issue.
Okay, is there a second to table it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Well, I have a quick question before we
No, go ahead, you
make a
can.
motion. I just wanted, my question is to the city attorney. Is that standard practice? We don't have to notify the adjacent neighboring?
That is standard practice.
Okay.
You are simply notifying the people whose zone designation is changing.
Mhm.
And my understanding is we did that in two ways. We sent them direct mailed notice,
Okay.
telling them what we were going to do, and gave them the opportunity to contact the Community Development Department and ask questions, gave them the opportunity to show up to a hearing, I guess, before the Planning Commission first, correct? And then again before the City Council. I do believe our public hearing on this ordinance was when this council was seated, correct? So, and I do believe the letters Councilman Avalos is referring to were, I think there was a template of, there are several letters that go out to everybody who's getting rezoned. But I do recall seeing the form of the letters that went out, and that they're simply that.
Okay.
Just notifying them that we're going to be doing this. You want to be heard on this, you can either contact us or you can show up at the public hearing,
Got it.
that sort of
So I
thing.
just want to make sure that was standard
Yeah,
practice.
that's good
Okay.
clarification of the process.
Yeah.
Definitely learned something. That's good. Even though it's our third iteration, I didn't know how the neighbors were informed or not informed. So that, and that has come up, that came up in a recent community forum. So it's a timely, issue and subject for us to bring up. And that's why we're here, to bring up issues just like this. And the fact that it's come up 3 times, I mean, we get our council packets on Thursday and we've extended our meetings to Tuesday. So sometimes we can't get right back to staff with issues until the council meeting themselves. And that's, again, why we have the council meetings in the first place, to bring this up. So I thank the council member.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that
if
issue there.
if there is a drop dead date on this that precedes April 15.
It'd be great to have it in the actual
Um,
packet that says we need this now.
The HCD is very accommodating to those sorts of things. You simply send them a letter saying the council wasn't in a position to actually adopt this ordinance at this time.
I don't sense any dispute. I just see looking for an additional information and clarity on this topic. Councilmember Trio?
Yeah, just the understanding that, this housing element and this, what we're working through and what we're approving is actually just the ramification of actually just pinpointing properties, open land for our community. And we're not actually designating we're changing the zone, but we're not actually pinpointing that homeowner or that owner of that property to be stuck to that zoning. He still has, it's just for the city, for sake to say, this is how many open lands we have, this is what we got, and we're proposing that this is the usage of that land. If we end up getting some kind of projects, what my biggest concern is on that part is, we've gone through 5 meetings in this regard, and we're capable, and I hope that we can be able to have them, move over and move the date. But at the same time, we could almost lose funding, and Mr. Mayor, we've been through this in the past. We've had our housing element out of whack, and we've actually been told to have meetings and move this. So I would really strongly urge us to either approve it or make sure that we're going to be able to fall in compliance to the dates before we make any rational decisions.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Staff has said April 15th will work. The city attorney has said a letter could be sent to
Before-
HCD.
Do you have a date, Jerome, Mr. Deputy City Manager?
And I'm still looking to see if I can find that date.
I mean, if it's that pressing, we can always have a special meeting just
True.
to take care of that if it's becomes.
He will locate that drop dead date after
Yeah.
our meeting today. And he will notify the city manager, who will notify all of you.
Okay,
so that we know whether or not we've got a problem we have to deal with.
that'll work.
Okay, sounds good. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes, thank you, staff, for working with us to accommodate council's questions on this. Okay, item 2.6, I'm pulling this off. This is consideration of resolution 2025-25R, supporting and implementing the timely use of funds for the Fresno Council of Governments, otherwise known as COG, 2025-2026 call for projects. That's for the Surface Transportation Block Grant, STBG, Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, CMAQ program. City Engineer Horn, thank you for addressing this topic.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The item you have in front of you is a requirement from Fresno COG that they receive a resolution from council agreeing to use the funds if we're awarded the project applications. We're committing in these applications, the city is committing to using local funds as a match to a certain portion of the funds we receive. These applications that we've submitted, there's 4 for the STBG, which is the Surface Transportation Grant. In your packet, we included some language from COG that explains the categories of projects that are allowed to be applied for. And those STBG projects are mostly paving projects. That's the surface transportation. They must be a part of the Caltrans road system. So those are certain roads that Caltrans has determined as part of the regional transportation system. So we can't use those funds for smaller local streets. We have to use them for major streets. A map of those roads is in your packet as well. The 4 projects that we submitted for STBG are also on the 10-year CIP program that was adopted a year or 2 from council. Those are the roads that we're showing based on pavement conditions over the next 10 years based on funding. Those are the projects that we are trying to accomplish. So these 4 projects that we've submitted for additional funding is on that plan. So we believe that these 4 areas, these stretches of streets are roads that the council has agreed to make a priority to fix. So we are requesting funding from the federal government through COG to help us pay for that so that we don't have to use as much of our local funds. CMAQ is the congestion mitigation air quality use. So those categories are a little different. We don't have to be on the Caltrans road system. So we've submitted 2 applications to help us work on alley improvements. The alleys that we've included in these applications are mainly dirt surface. So the air quality when people are using those alleys creates dust. If we can pave those over according to our standards, it'll reduce and help with air quality. We've been successful in the last few years or application cycles of getting funding for this very type of project. So the last thing I'll note on both of these type of applications, the areas or segments we apply for have to be a part of the Rural Transportation Plan, the RTP. That's through Fresno County. And one of the issues last cycle that we applied, our RTP system in Selma did not include a lot of the alleys. It did not include a lot of the road systems that we needed. So last fall, we spent a good amount of time updating that RTP. We've submitted those, a lot of the segments to Fresno County. So now these areas are in the RTP for the next cycle. So we should be more competitive with being able to get this funding. So these 6 projects are in front of you. We have submitted the applications. We submitted them on time to Fresno COG. They will be considering scoring these projects in June. And so we're requesting from council that you would approve this resolution, basically stating that if the city is awarded funding, you will be a timely manner of using those funds, which is in the next couple of years, and that we will be using local funds to do our match. The local match that we are committing is part of gas tax, local transportation funds, money that we get and use for roads. We would just not have to use as much if we can get this applications. So I would ask the council to approve this resolution. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Engineer Horn.
I have one question. When you talk about a full on these 6 streets, it's not going to be overlays, correct?
No, there's 4 of them that'll take reconstruction.
4 of them are going to get reconstructed to overlays?
No, not necessarily. So the STBG are full
Okay.
road constructions. We
Good.
try and use the money as efficient as possible. So if there are areas we can overlay, we'll do that. But most likely, these are projects that take a full reconstruction.
Okay.
They're very costly. That's why we're asking for funding.
So just a question, a follow-up question. I appreciate all that explanation. Very, very helpful. Thank you. A related question. We've been talking recently about the need for alley improvements in order for the Mid-Valley to be able to pick up the trash there. We've had a lot of the alleys restored to alley pickup for the trash with several, mostly areas around the old convalescent hospital, you know, that central area, that some of those alleys are just impassable. Is any of the CMAQ money going to those alleys? And I know you mentioned there was going to be another alley reconstruction plan going on. When will that happen, and will that restore all of the alleys to serviceability for Mid-Valley in the future?
Whether it
That's a big
fixes-
question.
Yeah, whether it fixes all of them, I probably can't answer that right now. One of the CMAQ projects is, there's a map and it's the yellow color, but that is in the area of the convalescent home. Those are alleys that have been noted both from Public Works and the solid waste collector, that those alleys are not passable with the trash truck. So these alleys are included. If we can get funding and improve these, it will improve the usability of that alley, and hopefully that solves the problem with the solid waste area.
The ones that are under construction, though, are they any of those alleys this year?
So no, those were previously funded by CMAQ. It's designed, it's ready for construction. As soon as we get through Caltrans' last requirements for environmental, those will be under construction. And so those are the first 2 alleys. These proposed, hopefully we get funding, will be the next 2 alleys that will improve that as well.
And these are a couple of those alleys that we're talking about that are impassable currently. Just a related topic, you know, we hear about the roads that are going to get redone with the pavement management index, which is great. And I believe, you know, we've had some questions from council. It would just be really helpful if you could come to council with a list of roads that are going to be resurfaced the next year. If you could let us know, so we could let the people who ask us know, you know, these roads are going to get worked on, that would be really helpful if we could get that in the future.
Certainly, and we can find it and make sure the city manager has it. We have a map now.
Saying that to the whole city, yeah. if we could.
There's a 10-year, the 10-year CIP has every road segment marked that is in the plan for the next 10 years to be improved.
That's cool, but I need to know what's happening next year and what's happening year
They're
after.
categorized by year.
Okay,
So you can see each year and they're color coded to show this is our plan, a 10-year plan, meaning this year, next year, the following year, based on funding.
that'd be a great agenda item.
And then Deputy City Manager King has us working really hard on an online dashboard that shows a map of all of that the citizens can pull up at any time. So we are working on that.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public with any comments on this item? Anybody online or on? Okay.
David, I have one more question. It just questioned, remember we do that, we actually, the city goes out and checks the streets. What's that called? That,
The PCI survey, PMS is the.
so how many, how many, after how many years do you do it randomly? Because if we have a 10-year if we have a 10-year plan, in between that 10 years, how many times do you go and do that? Because what if it's streets, you know, in a bad, fair condition, all of a sudden, because of the wear and tear in 2 years, it becomes a phase top in the list and we don't, so my question is, when do you do that in between the 10 years? How many times do you do it?
Yeah, I would recommend at least every 5 years. And currently, Fresno COG has a program that they have hired a consultant. City of Selma has agreed to be a part of it.
Yeah.
They are actually their consultant has already gone through the city, They're using new technology. We should expect that in the next so many months.
So when you receive that information, that data, do you go and you update yours and maybe some of those streets will be moved from one to the other?
That's part of
Yeah.
that scope
Okay.
is to actually update our plan. And like you're saying, we base our plan off of what we think vehicles will do, and that doesn't always work. And so we do need to modify it as we go.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you. I'm good.
thanks. Anybody online or on the phone?
Robertson, at this time, I see no hands
All
raised.
right.
Mayor,
thank you.
just a quick clarification on the item you mentioned, the agenda item. Is it possible to bring that in the first meeting of May?
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Stella Ramirez, I have a quick question. Is the road on, I believe it's Thompson and Broader, is that going to be fixed? Right there where the stop sign's at, 'cause it's really bad. I mean, it's bad. So I just wanted to find out if that's going to be fixed. And then also, does this include speed bumps? Had that question as well. I think it was mentioned last time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think the speed bumps are related to the Safe Routes to School funding that's coming up at COG. So we'll definitely be bringing that up in the future. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I have a comment. Now, we had a Councilman Avalos, who's a consultant for, I don't know who, but he went out on his own and took pictures of all the streets, and I think he's submitting to council and to the engineer, so they're aware of, my street is Thompson, so it's pretty bad. And he brought a picture, and he was just telling, hey, that's your street. So, yeah, that's my street, so.
Good. That's why
Anyways,
that's going to be an
thank you.
important agenda item.
We gotta pay the man consulting fees.
Is there a motion to approve item 2.6?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos.
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Yes.
Item 2.7.
Right. This is again, it is check number 86542, the governmentjobs.com Inc. I know we mentioned this again, the HR NevGov, and it says year 3 payment for 61,124. And I think I'm bringing it up again. I'm just wondering if if we're really getting the best bang for our buck, because this is really pricey.
Yeah, so, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, because I know you're saying that everything's is on the website, but just the last couple months that I've been signing checks, I've noticed that there's quite a bit of people that still come into the city asking to fill out a permit, to fill out this, to fill out that, which that's fine, because not everybody is computer savvy. And I know that's a service that we should be providing anyways. Even if those are folks that are computer savvy, they may not want to do their permit online. They want to come in and do it here. But I'm just wondering, is this program really worth investing?
So NeoGov is more of an internal facing program. I know it's confusing with OpenGov and NeoGov, those two. So the one that's public facing for permits is OpenGov, which we've streamlined our community development department pretty significantly with that particular program. With NeoGov, the check you mentioned on the check register, this is the year 3 payment. So what you saw on the check register last time for NeoGov was last year's payment. It was just, they had been sending it to the wrong place, and then we finally received it for last year and made the payment. So to answer your question, NeoGov is an extremely useful software that really, I would say, I don't know, a big majority of government agencies use, not just for recruitment, but also for, we're going to use it for payroll and for performance evaluation management. So it's more internal facing, and I can tell you it more than pays for itself in terms of the streamlining and the internal efficiencies that we achieve. It does seem pretty pricey, but when you compare it to, our, for example, our financial accounting software, it's much more affordable than that. And we do get pretty good support from the company. But at the end of the day, it's an industry standard on the HR side for this particular software. You're right, we do still get people coming in for job applications and asking, hey, are you guys hiring for this job, or where can I submit an application? Our next step with rolling out NeoGov is actually placing a terminal up at the front so that people who do come in for a paper application, we just walk them through the process electronically. But yeah, we're never going to get away from paper applications completely. But on the internal side, it saves us so much time and money, and it's well worth the investment. But I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Mhm.
I have one, 86580, Santa Maria, California News. Admin, PR notice of council meetings, legacy events, zoning. Are we advertising in Santa Maria, California News, or do they own the Californian? Selma, California.
Yeah, that's the name of the company that owns the newspaper where we publish, but it's published here locally.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody else with a question? Anybody in the public with a question about the check register at this time?
Actually, I had another one.
Councilman Avalos?
Yeah, actually, I have one. I'm gonna ask the engineering guy to come up here again. Okay, Don Barry. Okay, check register, 86528, $308,304.83. Is that the end of the, AD compliance? I guess he was working on them out there on the streets of Selma. Is that all the money that's used up now, or that's still, we have a more reserve on the AD compliance? I'm asking that question.
I'm sorry, which check number again?
That was 8652-8, Don Barry Construction Company.
Great. So that's progress payment number one for the street rehabilitation project.
Yeah.
Which is the paving of Dennis, Aspen, E, F, Gaither, and Mulberry. So that's the street project that actually was just wrapped up with paving last week. But that check is for their first progress payment. So that's the first portion of it. So there will be more money once they finish the next part.
Okay, now, the question I'm gonna, there's more money. Well, do you know how much money more is available? Let me ask you, that we have.
Sure, I don't
in the
know, I don't know off the top of my head, but there was when we awarded the project to Don Barry, when the council awarded it, in that staff report, it listed the award for Don Barry for what his contract is, the contingency that we recommended, and the construction management. I don't have the number off the top of my head. We can do that if you need.
It would be the contract amount that was
The
awarded.
contract amount, and then, but you'll let, like Mayor says, you'll let us know when the next project and what streets you're gonna work on, or if it's, what funds are available. I mean, what
Certainly, and for
that issue.
In this project, I'll bring a staff report when the project is complete. That will ask the council to award or to approve a resolution notice of completion. And my staff reports usually include what the contract amount was and how much under budget we are. So you'll be able to see how much money we can apply to the next project.
Okay, and on that particular item, you'll give us a report how many project you have left on this deal here, on this Don Barry construction.
We can give you a progress
Balance.
update on that.
Update,
Sure.
yeah,
Yep.
and a timeline when he finishes it.
Is it okay via email to send that out to the council?
That's fine, too.
Okay.
Email to the council is fine. That's fine, as long as we get it, I'm fine. We're good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anyone
I
from
have
the
one
public?
more.
Okay,
Well, one more, no, you.
we're not moving anywhere.
Okay, 86574, Robert Halfin, Financial Accounting, Senior Accounting Bookkeeping. You got 221 and 228, 7 days, $8,454.75 was, okay.
Yeah, that's our temp staffing, and I'm happy to report, our finance director can elaborate. We were having this conversation about now that we're pretty fully staffed, we won't need to have temp staff necessarily, which is what that cost represents.
No, because that's high cost there.
No, absolutely.
No.
And that's just and not all of that goes to the employee. Most of it is a markup for the temp staffing agency. But we do have we were looking at the contract. We have I think a 30-day notice period where we have to give them before we're able to end that contract with them. So we're working on it.
And one more item, 86587, Swanson Farney Ford sales, fleet auto parts. Is that the fleet that we actually that are leasing, or that's different fleet that's?
This is our in-house fleet that's not managed by Enterprise. Is that what you're referring
Okay.
to? Yeah. We still have lots of vehicles that we
All right.
maintain internally.
That's it. Thank you.
Public have any items on the check register? Anybody online or on the phone with any questions about the check register at this time?
Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 27?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes, moving on to our first item of new business. It's an information item, and it is the Selma Police Department Annual Update. Chief Alcaraz.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In front of you, you have a very nicely published annual update in front of you, and I'm not going to read from it verbatim, but I'm going to hit some high points in it. I also wanted to kind of thank our staff and some of our police officers and members of the police department for being here. I invited everybody just because they are the ones that do the work and make these things happen. Because the data that we're going to go through is extremely impressive, and it's truly a testament to their hard work and their dedication, not just to the profession, but to the city of Selma and its citizens. So I'd like to kind of take you forward with some of this information. At the front, you'll see this is our annual police department photo. We're going to begin doing this every year. I think it brings a great sense of pride to the department and to the community. So this is our entire staff on, I want to say it was January 16th, 2025, somewhere in that neighborhood. Can we go to the next slide, Riley? This is just a quick little table of contents for you as you look through the brochure that I printed out for you. Also, we'll try to get this printed out on our social media and possibly even attached to our website. So again, I'm not sure exactly how that happens, but we'll work on getting it done. The next slide is just a little bit about us. These are three of our officers, Officer Lynch, Officer Hernandez, and Officer High. These three young men are just a breath of fresh air. They're always got a great smile on their face, just very service-minded, as is all of our department and members. But it just kind of, I wanted them to talk about their feelings about working at the Selma Police Department. So if you read some of those snippets there, it's kind of their take on the department and where they're at and the work that they do and why we do what we do, right? Additionally, it kind of talks and overviews how many officers we have at this time, and as well as civilian staff or non-sworn or support personnel as well, because we don't do this by ourselves. We really, and as we go through this update, you'll see kind of how we use every facet and every tool within our department and within the city to enhance the quality of life for our community members. Riley, if we can go. Just a quick, I know everybody loves these grapes, so I thought I couldn't have an annual update without including the grapes, right? It also talks a little about, we cover 5.77 square miles and approximately 24,000 residents, right? So for a small community on the 99 corridor, that 5.77 square miles really kind of is an underscore of what we're servicing. Because if anybody knows, trying to get across Floral Avenue or Highland can be extremely challenging. That 99 is a great resource for us, and I think it brings a lot of good, but it also creates some unique policing challenges as well. So kind of, I wanted to touch on that. Next is our patrol operations. Our patrol operations, that's our bread and butter. That's everything we do is built off of patrol. These are our people our patrol officers, our police professionals that are out there on a daily basis making vehicle stops, subject checks, they're dancing with the kids, having lunch with the kids, which we'll kind of hit on a little bit later. And I think that's important because it's beyond the traditional law enforcement services that they provide. I think that a lot of the things that they're doing as a whole is really lending to the data and the statistics that we're seeing. So, our patrol officers, we run 4 shifts, two graveyard shifts, 2 day shifts. They run 24/7. They work with each other to make sure that they're enjoying their days off, that their comrades are getting vacation. They all step up. I constantly see supervisors putting out that they need shift coverage and people stepping up to fill in on those shifts. I'm sure that the overtime is a little bit enticing as well. So very proud of them. I wanted to highlight a couple of few statistics and data here. Last year, in 2024, we handled 33,432 calls. That's an enormous amount of calls for service. Of that, 19,494 calls were self-initiated, meaning that means our officers were out there on patrol. They saw something, whether they made a vehicle stop or they made a subject check, a warrant arrest, initiated an investigation. 58% of those 33,000 calls was them creating their own work. Basically seeing something, not waiting for someone to call, but actually taking action. That's a very impressive number. And it also allows them to do the work that they want to do, right? The fun work that we got into law enforcement to do, right? So I think that kind of helps to morale and the things that we do. Additionally, our traffic collisions. So in 2024, we decreased our traffic collisions by 19%, right? That's quite a drastic drop. If you'll notice to the right in that orange and gray, we actually wrote 24% less traffic citations. Normally, by writing more traffic citations, we reduce traffic collisions. Last year, we only, between 22 and 23, we reduced traffic collisions 7%. I think that decrease in traffic collisions, along with writing less traffic citations, is because of their hard work and their visibility and always being out on patrol and making these vehicle stops, because now our community members are becoming more compliant. And really that's the purpose of writing traffic collisions, right? Is to gain compliance. So I think that we're seeing the effects of that, and I'm super proud of our personnel because, like I tell them, visibility is a grassroots crime prevention tool. And what we're doing is grassroots policing and then integrating the use of technology and analytics to be efficient and effective in our patrolling models. So I'm very, very proud of these numbers. If we can go to that next. I also wanted to highlight in 24, we had 2 canines. One of them, Canine J, just retired due to some medical issues. And next to him is Canine Satin, not to be confused with Satan. It is Satin, right? Satin was purchased by the Selma Police Foundation, and Satin is specializes in narcotics and firearm detection. The reason that she is not, correct? Is it she? Yeah. The reason that she is not an apprehension dog is our focus is taking firearms and illegal narcotics from the streets. So we deploy every tool that we can that focuses on those efforts. And Satin is a wonderful addition to our canine program and to our police department family. So she's a gorgeous dog, very friendly, and we expect great things from her in the very near future. So if we can move on to our support services, Riley. So our support services is very broad, as we're finding out, especially as we sat down to look at budget today and how we more clearly define our budget. So I think one of our biggest and most identifiable support services division is our communications, right? They're the person when you call 911 and are asking for help, they're the ones that answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These professionals here really have a great attitude. They're very minded in regards to service and work very diligent to make sure that our personnel out in the fields are getting the information that they need as quickly as they can get it to ensure that they stay as safe as possible. We've also tried to integrate, well, not tried, but we have integrated when we go out and do community outreaches or events, we have our dispatchers join us because they are a huge part of what we do. In fact, we have Natural Police Dispatcher Week coming up in a few weeks, and we again look forward to recognizing them. If we can just scroll down a little bit lower, down below is kind of our response times from the time that a call comes in until the time that a dispatcher dispatches that call out to the field and they get an officer to respond. I know 3 minutes and 25 seconds may seem like a lot on a high priority. That's most likely, that's an average, right? What happens is you have a major event, you got 50 people calling about that one event, and she's got to sort through, they have to sort through all that data and information and then get it out and then get that information out to our personnel so they can respond. And their ability to get that information out as thoroughly and as quickly as possible is what kind of plays with those numbers. But it is, those are very good numbers, I'd say, and we're very proud of their efforts. Also to the right is just a little bit of a kind of graph on calls for service by day, right? So you would think that, oh yeah, Saturday is a huge day, right? Sometimes Monday can be just as busy, right? So those numbers fluctuate, but that's just kind of the guide to kind of give you an idea of when calls come in. If we can go to that next page, Riley. Our school resource officers. Well, what I'll tell you, back in the day, it was my experience being in law enforcement 20 years is we put personnel in our schools that maybe we wanted to kind of put in the corner, if you will. Our school resource officers that we have, I have an exceptional relationship with the schools. They do a phenomenal job with engagement, also being liaisons between the schools and our police personnel, our patrol personnel, getting them information and data to help them investigate crimes beyond the schools, right? There's a lot of information that we can gather in the schools that help us with either past crimes, future crimes, or mitigating crime trends, right? Because they get to see certain things and then kind of pass that information along as we're out doing patrolling and trying to mitigate crime here in the city of Selma. Additionally, it's not just our school resource officers. We have our personnel that are actively visiting the schools at the elementary schools, at the high school, at the junior highs. That relationship building is paramount to our future success, because the more that we can get our children and young adults to see us as real people, not just cops, right? The more inclined they're going to have a conversation with us when we do respond to a crime and they may be a witness or victim at that moment. So these numbers are huge for us, and we're seeing a lot fewer calls for service in the schools between 2023 and 2024, actually a 33% decrease. So that's a testament to their great work. Well, code enforcement, I can't tell you how important code enforcement is to us and the great work that they do, and especially these two young gentlemen here. They really have a passion in enhancing our community and its aesthetics, and I think that plays well into what we're trying to accomplish here at the Selma Police Department and the city of Selma, which is beautifying our city, right? We're starting with the small things and working our way up with the council support and budgeting, giving us resources to do cleanups at some of our encampments. We're also getting a lot of positive response to those cleanups. Additionally, if you look at these kind of cleanups, right, many times they're right on the cusps of our city, county, or city and state properties. So not only are they going out and cleaning our portion in our jurisdiction, they're in constant communication with like CHP, I'm sorry, I shouldn't CHP, but Caltrans and the county with regards to issues that extend beyond our jurisdiction limits, right? And by doing so, we're able to clean up that entire area and not allow them to come back as quickly. So again, these are just a few pictures of the many cleanups that they've done, and we're very happy to do that. So again, our next slide is going to be our records division. Records does a multitude of things for us. After we write police reports and we submit to the district attorney, we arrest somebody. Records ensures that we have all the supporting documents with that crime report to be able to file charges or to ensure that someone gets booked properly. They also are the front, the faces of the police department when you come in to get a police report, get a citation signed off. So again, they do a phenomenal job for us, especially because it's a police department. At times people will come in upset, they're a little bit emotional. These two professionals are very good at de-escalating, getting people just to talk so that we can get them the help that they need and get them back on their way. So great job. If we can go down a little bit further. Our investigations division. What I'll tell you about investigation is we recently put a new sergeant back there about a year and a half ago, and we've had some new investigators back in investigations. We're looking as soon as we can get up, staffed up a little bit more, putting more investigators back there, because the work that our investigations unit is doing is paramount to the city's success, right? Not only do our investigators do a phenomenal job with the cases that are handed to them, they're out constantly creating their own work. They're not waiting for cases to come back to them. They're constantly out looking in different forums to find illegal contraband that is touching or related to the city of Selma, and then taking the appropriate action. By doing this, they've authored over 100 search warrants this year. That unit alone has recovered 20 firearms, meth, fentanyl. They register our sex offenders that are in our area or new to our area. They do a multitude of things, a lot of things that are kind of behind the scenes, as well as communicate heavily with our patrol division so that there's information that they're needing to help put a case together. They're working diligent between patrol and investigations to ensure that we're seizing every opportunity to be effective in the community of Selma and reducing crime. A little bit below is a picture of our crime analyst, and to the right is Fresno County District Attorney's Office. This year, the Fresno County District Attorney's Office received 2 awards from their Mad Lab technicians, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. But what the Mad Lab does is they unlock phones that get us the data that we need to put together some of these more sophisticated crimes and bring forward a successful prosecution. 2 of the technicians from the Fresno County DA's office were recognized in the nation, meaning they were amongst one of the top 25 technicians with regards to seizing these phones and accessing them amidst thousands of different technicians across the nation. And a large part of that, why we were invited to this ceremony, is because our crime analysts, as well as some of our detectives, help feed these phones to the DA's office because of cases that we're working. So again, that's the amount of work that our people are doing. And it's not just affecting the city of Selma, but it's also affecting Fresno County. And if it ensures the safety in Fresno County, it ensures the safety in the city of Selma. So we're very proud of the work that our people are doing beyond our jurisdictional limits. Next is property and evidence. This year, we took about 2,300 items that we booked into evidence. 8 of that, we had 8 pieces of evidence that showed the presence of fentanyl. So nowadays, with narcotics and fentanyl not being a standalone drug, a lot of our, nearly all of our narcotics are sent out to the labs for testing, because that's the safest way to ensure that fentanyl does not get airborne and create a hazard to our personnel. So that's a lot of evidence that is processed and then routed out to the appropriate laboratory to be able to get processed properly, so that we can get the reports to have a successful prosecution or filing. So again, that's a lot of work. 2,300 pieces of evidence in 1 year is huge. And again, that's because of all the hard work that our patrol and investigations personnel are doing. Now below is our animal services. I don't think that we have to talk too much about it. We talk a lot about animal services, but they do, again, the job that they do is phenomenal, especially the way that they did it, creating the program, the protocols, the procedures, all within 13 months, getting a 96% return or live release rate, well above the national average of 81%, having a 26% return to owner rate, well above the average, national average of 3 to 5%. These are just astounding numbers. And, you know, we couldn't be prouder of the Animal Service Division, also because by them doing a phenomenal job, that means we don't have to go and pick up dogs. And really kind of, we can focus on the other things that we're talking about, right? And that really is our focus. So collectively, by using code enforcement, animal services, all these different divisions and functions, we truly enhance the quality of safety, quality of life for the citizens of Selma. Okay, so crime statistics. So in 2023, 2024, we reduced our Part 1 crime statistics by 16% if you compare 2023 to 2024. I think those are phenomenal numbers. The numbers became a little concerning in September because in 2022 or 2023, between 22 and 23, we had reduced crime 19%. And I thought there's just no way we can continue to hit that kind of number and reduce crime that much. But again, it's a testament to the work that our people do, our management team, our police officers, our code enforcement, everybody that goes, their work collectively goes to show these extremely impressive numbers. I'm going to recap this all for you, but I just can't tell you how proud I am of our staff. If you go down to just a little bit lower there, Riley. In 2023, we had 831 Part 1 crimes. In 2024, that's 702 Part 1 crimes in 365 days. Those are extremely impressive numbers. The biggest number that I'm extremely proud of is we took 81 illegal firearms off the streets in 2024. Every single one of those guns vastly improves the quality of life and safety of our community members. And that's what our people are dedicated to. And I can't thank them enough for accepting and meeting that challenge and far exceeding my expectations. I'll be honest, I told them, let's get 80 guns. I didn't think that was going to be possible. And I'm happy to say they absolutely proved me wrong. So it's a testament to them. Down below, as you'll see, just a few of kind of our more intense firearms, our more illegal assault rifles with high capacity magazines. I think we had ammunition recovered this year. It was body piercing ammunition, which is extremely dangerous to our community members and especially to us, because that ammunition and technology will go right through our vests. If you look towards the bottom, if you can see where it says it's kind of a silvery background, and there's a bunch of pictures of guns there, and off to the left is 2024. That's a bulletin board that's in my office. So anytime we take a gun off the street, we take a picture of it and it goes up into my office to remind me and remind personnel of our focus and mission at the Selma Police Department. And it's really not the guns, right? It's what we have to do to take those guns off the street, because we don't just stop people and arrest people and say, hey man, I got this gun on me. Oh, and by the way, it's illegal, right? They're hiding it, they're selling them, they're building them, manufacturing them, and our people are taking that little bit of information, doing their due diligence. They're doing an in-depth investigation. Nothing is surface level, right? They're taking these investigation as deeply as they can to recover these firearms. And that is the culture that we are trying to cultivate, and I think that we have. Because it's not just firearms, it's every other investigation. We're doing very thorough investigations the best we can so that we can file charges, right? So again, this is just a benchmark and a visual way to kind of represent the type of work that they're doing. And again, I couldn't be prouder of them. Next is going to be our department awards. So in January, every year I have a department update. I do that because it allows me a time to sit down with our personnel and really tell them and show them how appreciative I am of their work. what happens working as a police chief is it's a grind. I mean, we're in meetings all day, every day. You're always talking with someone trying to bring resources to your community. Many times my management team will walk with me to my car so I can give them guidance, or we can talk or get updated on what's going on in the city, right? And how we are going to address those issues, or whether it be personnel, whether it be a criminal matter. But we really use every moment of time, and because I move so quickly, I don't get to really spend the time that I want to with them, or I would love to spend with them. So by having this awards banquet at the end of the year, we get to talk about what we did the previous year and how great that was, and then redefine what the next year is going to look like and how we're going to work collectively to achieve those goals, right? And a large part of it isn't the tactics, it's not the strategies, it's the culture, it's the expectation. It's reminding them of why we do what we do, right? Talking about the why, because the why is everything. And making sure that they're bought in, and that throughout the year, not just myself, but the management team is having that conversation. So at the end of the year, when I sit down and talk with them, I can have a good organic conversation and reinforce why we're doing what we're doing. And I think that after being here for 2.5 years, it's very evident that those conversations and that culture is working, and we're seeing it play out on a daily basis. So what we did is we gave, this year we recognized Paula Tristan as our dispatcher of the year. Unfortunately, she's not with us. I think she's actually might be working right now. Tino Maldonado is our Spotty Award. That's our Safety Professional of the Year award, right? I want to kind of make it a little fun. If you, it's kind of hard to see, but because that's an acrylic award, it's actually a puzzle piece. And the reason it's a puzzle piece is because our civilian or employees are like missing pieces of the puzzle, right? Nobody sees them out there on the street. They're not telling you that hey, you gotta, they're not stopping you because you gotta slow down, or doing a subject check, or responding to a crime that occurred, right? They're like the unsung hero, the missing piece that puts and makes our department whole. So Tina Maldonado, one of our records clerk, does a phenomenal job of that. Down below is, I'm going to start with Detective Christian Cano. Detective Christian Cano won our Gonzalo Carrasco Award this year. That award was given because we feel that Detective Cano embodies the spirit and the soul of, well, I shouldn't say soul, just the spirit of Gonzalo Carrasco and what he stood for. A young man that dedicated his life at a very early age to serving his community. Christian Cano took many guns off the street this year. Not only did he do that, while working patrol, we moved him into investigations. We lost some personnel, needed to create more field training officers to train new people that we were hiring. Christian Cano volunteered to become an FTO to train new personnel. And not just by doing that, now you have a very experienced and aggressive officer teaching our new personnel what our expectations and what our standards are. And we didn't have to ask him. He volunteered to do that. So going from day shift to graveyards, back to day shift. Still, while I was on patrol, he stopped some gang members, took some assault rifles, and we believe that night, because they'd been drinking, they were going to go out and cause havoc in our community or nearby community, and his actions stopped that violent crime. So again, his dedication to the profession and to the Selma Police Department is why we awarded him with the Gonzalo Carrasco Jr. Award. Next is Officer Lynch. We gave Officer Lynch the Chief's Award. Officer Lynch also was on patrol. We'd lost a school resource officer because of attrition, and Officer Lynch begrudgingly went into the schools and did a phenomenal job for us. Then we asked him, hey man, we need some FTOs. He agreed to become an FTO, went back to patrol, and put that positive attitude and that energy into a car with a very young and impressionable police officer to help teach him the expectations of the City of Selma Police Department. So that's why we honored Officer Lynch with the Chief's Award. Next to him is Officer Shannon. In 2024, Officer Shannon pulled over a vehicle, and a gang member During the interaction of that vehicle stop, a gang member pulled a gun on a responding officer. Officer Shannon took quick action, fired upon the suspect, causing him to flee. They were able to take him into custody after a short foot pursuit, and everyone got home safely that night. That's a testament to his courage and his dedication, and we thought that the Medal of Valor was a very deserving award for him, and so we recognize him that day as well. Down below is Officer Anthony High. Officer Anthony High received our Top Gun Award. That's because Officer High writes a ton of traffic citations, makes a ton of arrests, has taken a few guns off the street, and almost gets no traffic or no citizen complaints, if any. I mean, that's impressive because people don't like getting tickets, right? We get people that come and complain all the time they got a ticket, and I ask them, well, was our officer unprofessional? No. Did he explain why you're getting a ticket? Yes. How can I help you? Well, he shouldn't have given me a ticket. And I understand that, sir, ma'am. My advice is I absolutely encourage you to go to court and you deal with the judge with that because that's not our position, right? So his proactivity, Officer High comes in to work overtime shifts and cover all the time. So that's why we honored him with the Top Gun Award. And you can see that award is a F-14 fighter pilot. So I thought that was kind of cool. Next to that is in 2024, we had six officers that personally recovered more than 5 firearms in that calendar year. And for that, we honored them with the Top Gun Award. They'll get a little lapel pin that they can wear on their duty uniform that shows their commitment to ensuring the safety for the citizens of Selma. So I just want to kind of thank them again. Unfortunately, they all couldn't be here. They all have families, and I'm sure they got to work tonight. So if we can go on to the next slide. Again, community outreach. It's not just the vehicle stops, the arrests, the search warrants. It's the community outreach. You'll look there. You'll see a bunch of different faces all doing different types of community outreach. We've worked with CHP and doing cones with cops. We worked over with the Secret Santa shopping at Walmart, just going to the schools and interacting with the kids, dancing with them, throwing the ball around, giving blood, out at our National Night Out, some of our outreaches, over at Starbucks when we're trying to raise money for, someone remind me, Special Olympics. Again, I can't remember all the different functions that we attend, but again, it's just a testament to their dedication to not just the city of Selma, but some of the bigger programs and communities within our region. So again, thank you. See, more beautiful photos, right? There's one of our shifts having dinner together, right? Talking about the fun they had on that shift. Very proud of our lobby, that signage and kind of some of the things that they're doing, right? Taking pictures with the kiddos. The kids love this stuff, right? Handing out gifts while they're on patrol. You know, I know our POA went and found a vendor to donate a bunch of toys that our patrol could then hand out while they're out patrolling on during the Christmas vacation or during that time. So again, we don't make them do this, right? They're out there doing that on their own. Again, it just to show that their desire to engage with our community members. So I really think that that's a very crucial component to what we do here in the city of Selma. And the next slide is, you know, we'll never have a presentation and not recognize Gonzalo, his bravery, his commitment, his dedication to the profession, and to our Selma Police Department family and community. This year we'll be sending, actually the Selma Police Foundation will be sending Christian Cano to represent the Selma Police Department and make sure that Gonzalo's not alone in Washington, D.C. He'll also attend some training while he's there. But our brother will always be our brother, and we'll remember him forever, at least at the Selma Police Department. So this is, again, a little testament to him. If we go on the next slide. Again, the biggest overview, what I'll say is, and we can just go towards the end, is that between 2022 and 2024, we've reduced Part 1 crimes by 35%. We've reduced traffic collisions by 26%. We have taken in the last 2 years, 135, 136 guns off the street. We've reduced our domestic violence. We've continued to be at a 58 or not higher % of calls for service that we are proactive, meaning we're creating our own work, right? That's a testament to our people and the culture that we are cultivating here at the Selma Police Department in the city of Selma. I think that that culture is going to be paramount to our success as we grow. You know, I commend the council and their investments in infrastructure. But I know what that's going to bring, right? A lot more homes, right? A lot more positive aspects to our community, but it will bring some negativity. And I believe that our people are more than equipped and ready to be as effective and efficient as they can be as we integrate a technology that we currently have, as well as add new technologies to make their jobs easier and more efficient and more effective in the future, because that's what will be needed as we begin to expand our city limits and our population. And again, the last is just a quick summary of everything I've talked to you about. Again, I don't want to read from a script to you all. I don't need to, because all this data and the work that they're doing is the things that we talk about on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis, right? It's what we believe in. It's the why in what we do. And I just wanted to also, because a big and huge part of our success is our community. It's our community willing to sacrifice and also go along for this journey. And I think that our community is much better for it. Last November, I was visiting Jackson's school, and a parent was standing outside waiting for his child, and he asked me how I was doing, and I said, I don't know, how am I doing? Because I could think I'm a rock star. You could look, man, Chief, you don't know what you're doing, right? You know, it's not what I think, it's what the community members think, right? And the comment that this community member made says he lives behind the high school. He said that, you know, recently he's seen kids out playing in the front yard, riding their bikes. He hasn't seen that in a very long time. And at the end of the day, that's truly what we're trying to accomplish, right? Are we perfect? No. We're never going to be crime-free, right? If we were crime-free, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be somewhere else, right? Hopefully making a lot more money. But I joke, but the reality is that that's why we do what we do, because you can't quantify that. You can't quantify that feeling, right? And hopefully, as time goes on, as we continue to cultivate this culture and nourish it, we'll get more of those conversations, and we're gonna work our way to having a better Selma. But it'll be an ongoing challenge and an ongoing journey. And I'm so happy to have the team members behind me at the police department to lead them through this journey and learn a lot from them. And thank you all.
Thank you for your report, Chief. Do we have any questions for the chief or any of the line officers here tonight in support of the PD report?
No, I'll be frank. I went on the ride along with these guys, okay? And the reason why I requested a ride along, guys, is to see how you guys are on the street and how you handle situations. I had to evaluate what is out there as far as crime statistics, what you're dealing with, situations that you're under, and the stresses you're under. And I have a report to later on to help you guys to facilitate some of those issues on the street, technology, and I'm sure Rudy will elaborate later on. But at the same time, the guys I was with, they're great. They're trained well. The situations went from a runaway to a drug bust, vehicle stop, The situation they were under, they handled good. The group, they were there, even when they book them to the booking, down to I was there from the get-go, guys, from the briefing to the end. And last time I didn't do the report. They didn't ask me to do the report, guys. I was good. I had to be there another hour. No, but you know what, guys? I will tell you something. When I was out there with them, hey, it takes a lot of guts. Every situation, it could turn on you. You don't know. A routine stop or a situation to the crime scene or situation to what is called, you don't know what to expect. And every officer has to learn to adapt. And you got to develop the skills in the team. And I was very lucky. The team I was on, they adapted very good. I got to see the group, and I wrote some items down to actually improve their operation in the future. I like to see more ARs in their cars. All right. I like to see another dog, police dog. It's a great tool. The reason why I'm telling you this, I've seen the dogs in action, and it's a great tool for the officer under certain situations. Hey, you can't outrun the dog. Trust me. And it's a great tool for an officer. And I like to see if we still do the drug sweeps in the high schools as far as with the dog training. Do we still do that, Rudy?
I believe that the school district outsources or contracts with a third-party vendor to do that.
In the past, we used to do that, and that was another deterrent on the streets. I know there's some liabilities with the school district, maybe by collaboration, maybe the council, we could sit down and talk to these people. Since, we have resource officers on their campuses, Now, I'm just trying to help the officers on the street to eliminate the inevitable, okay? That's why I went on the ride along. I wanted to evaluate these gentlemen out there putting their lives on for us. And I can't leave the firefighter guys out because they go out and save lives and situations could turn bad, but I commend you guys out there, okay? I thank you, all right? You'll see me on the next ride along. Thank you.
Councilmember. Hold on. Can you get up and ask from the podium? Thank you.
Callie Guerra, 2145 Cypress Street. My question was, Rudy, how do you guys, how many dispatchers do you have during the day and night shift, just because you are taking parlor calls as well now?
Anywhere from 1 to 2, depending on call types, call service, and we have a kind of a formula that we use to add personnel.
So you will have only one person taking calls for parlor in Selma, or shouldn't you like have 2 per shift to take calls if?
It just depends on the date, the time, and day that we're talking about. Like, there's not a constant, right? Then we also have personnel that are out on injury or they're sick or vacation. So there's a lot of different variables that go into how we staff. But we also have part-time dispatchers that come in and fill in for us. So it's just dependent.
Okay, and I was same thing as they were asking, are you guys gonna get another canine dog in?
That's going to be a council and that's a bigger discussion. Last year, the Selma Police Foundation purchased a canine for us. So again, those are different. How we deploy resources are dependent. There's a lot of variables that go into that. Legislation, personnel. There's a lot of things that go into what equipment we purchase. I think if I talked to council this in the past, right? Purchasing tools just to purchase tools is not a very good use of fiscal resources. A lot of things that we've done over the last 2 years are to cultivate and create a culture where our personnel is going to use those tools, right? Finding someone that wants a dog is probably our biggest challenge because you don't just leave the animal here at work, right? They take them home, they live with them. There's a lot of attention and care that goes into taking care of that animal. And then when you have someone that wants an animal, finding the resources to purchase that animal. Our dog, I think the last animal, Satin, that we purchased, I think the foundation purchased him for $9,000. And I couldn't, Sergeant Guzman, I think training is what, another 4 or 5,000? Just to train the animal and our personnel. So, and then it's sending that person away for 3 to 4 weeks. That we don't have them on the streets patrolling. So again, trying to make all these different resource deployments kind of line up so that our community doesn't have a lack in service, right? So.
Oh, okay, okay, that was it.
Any other comments, council? Anybody from the public with a comment?
Teresa Salas. Rudy, what are Part 1 crimes?
So there's a multitude of Part 1 crimes, from homicide, sexual assault, burglaries, larcenies, domestic violence, arson. It's going to be your more kind of common crimes, right? Not really your, I don't know, let's call it no, even embezzlement's a Part 1 crime. If you've ever seen a penal code, it's large, it's huge, right? So it's not every crime that is on the books. It's going to be your more affluent or your more common crimes, so your thefts, your assaults, and anything that's encompassed within that, right? So our major, what we would say, quality of life crimes, right? Every crime you can say is a negative quality of life, but there could be a fraud, right? Where someone's identification gets stolen. That's not included in our Part 1 crimes.
Thank you. So many uniformed Selma PD officers at a peaceful, lawful meeting. It brings back bad memories. I did have a question for the chief. The badge pinning, the last badge pinning that Mayor Pro Tem Guerra and I attended, I believe other council members, where we were respectful and polite. It was in private. It was invitation only. Can that be in public? It was at the Arts Center, and there was a limited number of people. Can that be made available to the public? I believe the people should be able to see the police officers who are here sworn to protect and defend.
So the reason we did it at the Art Center last year was because it's a lot more comfortable than 115 degrees outside. Also, we wanted to kind of make it very professional and really kind of concentrate on the personnel and their families swearing in their loved ones, getting into the business for the first time. Swearing in a police officer for the first time it's an enormous kind of life-changing event, right? This isn't a job like working at Save Mart, or no pun intended, but to be sworn in for your first time, it's very special for that officer and for his family. And we want to make sure that it is as meaningful as it can be. That's why we decorated the outside and talked a little bit about each and every one of them the best we could. So we can bring our new police officers to a council meeting. That's not a problem at all, and introduce them. But I would really like to continue with the program that we have moving forward, because I think at that moment, it's really about them. They've gone through a lot. 6-month academy. Now they're going to have to go and get 30, go to college for at least 30 units. They're making a huge investment on themselves, within themselves, and then going to the academy for 6 months, then going on FTO for another 4 months. So it's a huge deal. It's kind of like getting drafted in the NFL. You only get drafted once, right? If you get a lateral that gets sworn in, he's kind of, whatever. But for a new officer that's never had a job before, it's like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Swearing in is a very sacred ceremony. I very much agree with you. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for your service, putting your lives on the line for our community. We really value you in Selma, and you're part of our community. And that's why I mentioned that about the badge pinning, because we want to share too as a community. You do have a police force and you are a close-knit family, but you're part of our larger family. And we embrace you and we thank you for being part of our larger family of the citizens of Selma, which is who we represent up here. Quick question, homeless encampments in the public, how has that anti-camping ordinance worked out so far, Chief, in terms of reducing homelessness on the streets?
How would I quantify that, Mr. Mayor?
You tell me.
I don't know how I would quantify that. We're cleaning up the encampments. We don't keep track of the homeless. I think there'd be some liability associated with that. We enforce criminal matters, ordinances, where someone lives, and I don't know that we're not a census, like we don't track of people and where they're at.
I think we would probably know more when the annual point in time count comes around and we're able to assess, whether there's less, unhoused people on the streets. I mean, we know from previous presentations that not every person that lives on the street is a criminal, right? And so, there's resources in town. But I think to your point, Mayor, were you asking how many encampments have been cleaned up and what's been the impact on the crime statistics?
Yeah, I was asking the chief because he has the line authority for that with that ordinance, it is the responsibility of the PD. And I just wanted to ask to see if there was a general impression on whether that's having an effect for the better or for the worse, because we've heard in the past that there are lots of constitutional rights, that it's a legal minefield to go and actually disturb homeless encampments and violate civil rights. Has that turned out to be that way, or has this local ordinance actually helped the situation and help PD to give you another tool in your toolkit to help remediate the homeless encampment situation in Selma that we've had for many years?
Well, that's a very complicated question, Mr. Mayor. We don't enforce laws on the homeless. We enforce ordinances. I think that there's a misconception that a lot of people, we have citizens in town that people see and are identifying them as homeless, and they're in fact not homeless. Just because someone hangs out at a park all day doesn't mean they're homeless. And I'll give you a great case in point. There's a gentleman that sits at some of our benches in the downtown area all day long, and then at night he goes home somewhere in the city of Selma and he sleeps in a bedroom with his family. During the day, he just doesn't feel comfortable being home, or it's just his prerogative. He doesn't want to be home. He wants to be outside, sitting on a bench, hearing the birds chirp and enjoying the sun. But just because he's out there all day does not make him homeless. So, and that's kind of what I was kind of alluding to is just because someone's out sitting at a park all day does not make them homeless. They have resources within the community, and there's a lot of citizens that I see that I think you may be referring to that have families here in town, and for whatever reason, they don't feel comfortable staying at that house, or maybe they're not welcome all the time. They're only welcome some of the time, and because they have a place there, they get food and housing at times. That's not homeless.
Great.
So I think
Just getting your perspective, because we're kind of dealing with this situation on the council with homelessness, and it's a cultural issue as well as it can be a criminal issue, it could be a cultural issue, it's a big social issue. So I just wanted to get your
if I just may, homelessness is not a crime. And I just want to be on record as saying that homelessness is not a crime. I just want to be on record.
Perhaps a better question to ask is, have you seen a decrease in homeless encampments since you've been enforcing the ordinance?
Not really, no.
Pretty much just spinning your wheels?
They'll move to somewhere else and then start to set up camp again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, absolutely, homelessness is not a crime, but it is a big problem in our community, and we're wrestling with it up here on the council, not ignoring it. So thank you again for your report and everything to the Selma PD for our city. We really appreciate your sacrifice and your service. Item 4.2, information item, which is the downtown cafe lights replacement project update.
Mayor, members of the council, this item was requested by council to bring back some information on the update of the project to install cafe lights downtown, to reinstall them. The staff report it added a little bit of background that many of you know about why the lights came down for the project that was funded through CDBG for ADA improvements. That project was completed according to the CDBG requirements and the project that the council approved. Since that time, council has asked for the staff to work on a project to reinstall cafe-style lights downtown. The project really was dependent upon the downtown strategic plan that was underway when the project with the trees was completed. That strategic plan went to the citizens. There were opportunities for people's input, for council's input, for the citizens to look at that. Cafe lighting was a part of that strategic plan, along with trees and other amenities downtown. So now that the council has requested that the lights be a high priority and get those reinstalled, we've put together the plans to get that done. This is a project that will go out to bid for public bid for contractors to install the elements that are required to install the lights. So in your packet, we've included what we're calling the 60% progress plans. You'll see the site plan. We can look at the proposed improvements that show where the lights are going to go, the poles, the future trees and curbs. The plans also include the electrical work. There's an electrical engineer that is needed to finish, to prepare some plans and specifications to go out to bid. And then we have a structural engineer making sure that the pole bases are installed to code. So Riley, this we can look at a couple of the plans. This would be the set of plans that we go out to bid. Sheet 3, Riley, is really what I wanted to show the council. So in your packet, I added some color just to add some context to help explain what we're showing on this plan. The yellow lines would be the cafe lights. So those are strung from pole to pole across the street. And the concept that we landed on has 4 different groups of those lights. The concept when we met with fire and other public safety departments, we needed to make sure that the ladder truck could operate in between these cafe lights. So this concept we discussed with fire department and believe that this will be adequate. The red line that's kind of highlighted, that's the electrical conduit in order to get power to the poles to power the lights. And our electrical engineer met with public works staff. There is existing conduits in the ground that were being used for outlets at the bottom of certain trees. We're going to put it in the plans and specs for those to be reused. We believe that's the most cost-effective way to make this happen. We will most likely have an add alternate in the bid in case those are physically not able to be used. We're not interested in spending too much money trying to fix existing infrastructure that won't work. But anyway, our hope is, and we believe that we'll be able to pull power from an existing breaker that's kind of on the top end of that. Last thing to note is the green areas. Those are shown as future curb cuts out in the street where the trees that were selected through the downtown strategic plan and the council's direction of the style of tree, that's where we believe would be the best place to install those trees. That would be a future installation, but we wanted to show them on this plan to make sure that we're not putting cafe lights in areas that would conflict those trees, trying to look ahead a little bit. And lastly, the large black dots at the end of each yellow line would be a pole that would be installed to support the cafe lights at a height that would allow the fire apparatus and the public to use the street underneath those lights. We've positioned these poles in the efficient way as best we can. These are in the tree wells where the trees were taken out. So we believe that we can use those tree wells that are right up against the sidewalk. That's where we'll install the poles. There'll be a little bit of work to take out the root ball that was from the tree, but we'll make sure that's in the specifications. But this will impact the sidewalk in the least manner possible. The other portion of this, with this concept at this point, we've developed a draft preliminary engineer's estimate included in the packet as well. And this is just preliminary based on the plans that we have, but our construction estimate is $98,000. We're placing a 20% contingency, at least at this point, until we get further along in the final plans. The design engineering, construction engineering. So the total estimate at this point would be $143,000 for the total project. And that includes a contingency that may not be needed if there are no issues. Our current project schedule at this point, if the council has any changes, we'll take that into account, but we'll be in final design. I'm estimating from tonight until April 21st. That's to get these plans to 100%, finish the specifications for bidding, prepare the bid package that will be advertised. I'm estimating April 30th. That gives us enough time to advertise twice and to open our bids mid-May. And then our next council to award would be June 3rd. And at that point, we'll go through contract, same as any other CIP project, with the construction schedule at this point estimating July through August or to the beginning of September. Those are all my estimates at this point. Wanted to obviously bring this to council. If there's any changes or direction, we can make that at this point and finish the plans up. If there's any questions,
I have a question. I have a question. On the light setup, would they be on a timer or a photo sensor? The photo sensor turns off automatically and at night, it pops at night and then at morning it just turns off automatically. Would it be on a photo sensor or you be on a timer?
We can do either way. We'll work with Public Works on what's preferred on that. We can do it either way.
Dave, on the, do you have like the samples of what the poles are gonna look like? Anything like that? That's kind of what I wanted to see.
Sure. So I don't have a sample of the poles, but the poles would be at this point like a 4-inch square metal pole, most likely up to about 18 feet, with a bolted bottom. The bolts will be embedded in the concrete footing. We can paint them whatever color that goes along with the downtown strategic plan. That'll all be worked out with the economic development.
Okay.
The lights, I'm sorry, we've worked through like the cafe lights. I've looked at a couple options. We're going to specify a certain type. It's obviously a commercial brand, exterior. It's meant for this type of installation. It'll be, we'll specify the types, but then the contractors can bid something that may be equivalent, and we'll have to approve that.
Now, will you be purchasing like the lights, things that from local vendors here, like Ace Hardware, Home Depot?
It'll be up to the contractor to supply those. So it'll be in the bid. We can specify, I can work with Public Works or city manager on how we want those specifications to be written. There may be some restrictions on the public bid.
Yeah, and I think we have some flexibility to specify in the bid, preferences given to local purchases, if they can find them
If
here
they can
locally.
find 'em, yeah.
Okay, question, so it's just from First to Second Street on High? That's the only place the lights are gonna go in?
Yep.
What about Second Street? We had lights there before.
So if this installation type works, this is the quickest way to use the conduit. We worked with Public Works on where the conduit comes from Second Street. If this, as we finish this project, we won't have to reinvent the wheel. We'll be able to use the same specifications, footing details, all of that information, and just redo the site plan, and can put that out to bid when it's time.
So you're using this as a sample, as a dry run
It
for
is,
Second
it is,
Street?
Mr. Mayor, but an added component to that, excuse me. Keep in mind that we are currently in contract with A&M Engineering with the $3 million grant that we have for the Second Street beautification project. With that project, there's a lot of changes happening to mainly the intersections, but to the curb gutter and sidewalk. We're doing bulb outs. So that will affect placement of the poles for Second Street. So it's the recommendation of Public Works that we write out the process with A&M for the design for that Second Street beautification project. And then we address the lights to what the new plan is going to be.
Can you have A&M incorporate the lights in their design guidelines?
They have a set specification for what they're working on. We can discuss that in our meetings. But I can tell you that we're already past 60% plans. But we can definitely discuss that with them in our next meeting.
Is there any way we could speed up this light project on High Street? That seems like a long time until
We'll
September
do-
1.
Yeah, we're in final design.
You're going to
we're
go as
get it done
fast as
quick
possible.
We just have to make sure I have all the pieces so that we don't go out to bid with a set of plans that's insufficient, that then would cause additional costs.
This is an engineer's report, so the bids could come in lower or higher, correct? Okay. And last question. And the trees, where are we on the timeline for putting the trees in?
We have a timeline. This concept shows how many, the locations. My proposal is based on the downtown strategic plan. I believe the community development group is looking for grants to help fund those trees.
The trees are going in where the lights are going in?
So the green areas would be where I'm proposing the street trees to be installed.
Okay, and that's pretty much where the lights are going in as well?
Lights are going in where these dark poles.
It's on the same section, the same block.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Same block, but the green areas would be where the trees are installed, and the yellow lines would be where the cafe lights.
The
are
lights
going.
used to go from tree to tree, and now they're going to go crisscross across
On
the
poles.
street. And they're going to be actually not next to the trees. They're going to be between the trees. Is that correct?
Some will be.
The poles will.
Some will be around the trees. We're trying to plan the trees between cafe lines so that the tree can grow without impacting the cafe light.
And the poles will be much taller than the trees, and that's part of the issue, because we have to make them high enough for the ladder truck to drive under.
What kind of issues do you run into with the poles and the trees being in the same street? Are there any problematic issues or anything you have to engineer for when you're putting both in on the same street?
Well, my recommendation is to try not to have a cafe light hung and a tree growing right underneath it. Going to impact that light. So we did our best to install the cafe lights at an angle and put the tree in between that, so the tree can grow and the lights can stay where they're at.
What kind of canopy does the pistache tree have? Is it pretty full or is it relatively narrow, or?
Full would be a 30-foot radius drip line.
So you can't have those poles too close to the trees or the canopy will interfere in the growing season?
And it's my recommendation to keep separation. Public Works can maintain those trees no matter where they're.
So I was going to piggyback on that. Thank you, David. Is that maintenance on the trees? When we have conflicting lines running through the trees, it prevents the proper maintenance to keep a healthy species. So we don't want to, we want to try to avoid that conflict as much as possible.
And then if we like the light design on First to Second, can we also explore looking at the other direction, past Maiden Voyage and Ace Hardware and all that stuff, see if it's in the future?
Yeah,
Is there a
so
potential?
Mayor, I was gonna add, absolutely, when we have the discussion about the CIP, those will all be projects that the council can incorporate into either this fiscal year or next fiscal year, which I would recommend. I think the tree project is more of a priority, right, than extending, past First Street, the lights. But if we want to program it for, 26, 27, then we can absolutely do that.
And last question, really. The last question, the 143, what's the source of the funds?
Again, that's a budgetary question we would have to bring during the budget workshops to find out if that's a general fund. And we're looking for grants, which is, I don't know, a long shot at best in order to find grants for it. My guess is it would have to either come from the general fund or from other projects that we reallocate.
I have two questions. How far away is the pole gonna be from the buildings?
Right, about 12 to 18 inches from the curb. And the curb is about 5 to 6 feet to the building. So where the trees were before, that's where the poles are gonna go.
Okay. The other one is, didn't we, the last 2 years, or was it 3 years, didn't we set aside like $50,000 or $60,000 for this, for sound? Wouldn't that, for the speakers, wouldn't that money go towards that? Because I think we did it twice.
We can roll that over, and I think council had previously talked about using that money for this purpose to roll it over. So it's in the existing budget, and we can bring that over to the next fiscal year budget.
Okay.
Anybody from the public with a comment on the light system? Anybody online or on the phone?
At this time, I see no hands raised.
Thank you. This is a discussion item, so we will now move on to item 4.3, which is another information item, purchasing policy regarding local vendor preference.
Thank you, Mayor Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem Guerra, and council members. So the item before you is just an informational item asked by the council to be brought back, and is regarding the purchasing policy for vendor preference. As you see on the staff report, there's 4 areas that was found on the purchasing policy where it covered the mechanism to support local vendors. 2 of them were specifically said that the number 1 and number 3 does say local vendors and also vendor preferences. And then that's in chapter 7 and chapter 14. And then there's 2 areas where they're on chapter 4, which also talks about local preferences, which was the procurement opportunities as well as the cooperative purchasing area. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do council have any questions for Director Moreno? Anybody from the public with any questions? I got a question. So the reason I brought this up was really in response to a department head's comment that we don't have preference in our purchasing policy for items over $25,000. So I'm seeing that this kind of says that we do have preference for local vendors.
Yes.
At all price points. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a way we could enhance the preference for local vendors with the purchasing policy? And if so, how? How would we do that at the council level?
We can bring back to amend the purchasing policy to incorporate any language you want to put in the purchasing policy.
I think one recommendation I've seen incorporated is if, let's say you have a bid process where a local vendor is maybe 1 or 2% above a non-local vendor, there's that wiggle room that you give them, like if they're within 2%, you go with the local vendor, right? I think that's probably the most common that I've seen. And it could be 2%, it could be 5%, right? Obviously, it ends up costing the city a little bit more. So if you put a limit on the amount of purchases or the total cost of those purchases, then you limit the additional cost to the taxpayers. But at the end of the day, I think that might be an effective way.
Right now, we're going to go with the 2% lower. We're going to go with the lower bid for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Correct.
okay, so we as a council could change the policy to say if and local vendor means a business that is located in Selma, we'd have to define
Or owned locally. I mean, it could, like Les Schwab it's up in the air whether that's a local business, right? Because it's a corporate.
Right. They do have
business.
they have a location in Selma, they hire local people.
Sure.
So that And to me, that would be pretty close to qualifying. But would, okay, I think I'll bring this up at a future council item. Thank you for your report. Did anybody from the public have an item? Anybody on the phone or online with a question about the hiring?
Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
I don't know. It's tough when they're selling the same thing. Okay, with that, we will move on to our future agenda items, which we just talked about. Does council have any future agenda items they would like to bring up at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up again the issue of recognizing second chance. I brought it up many times. It's escaped many times, maybe like a dog, maybe, I don't know. It's running
appropriate.
around, it's out there somewhere. Somebody please grab it and bring it. Also, I would like to have, and I don't know if it needs to be an agenda item, to have city attorney bring back that issue on dumping dogs. Does that need to be an agenda item or?
What I was contemplating was including that in a more comprehensive ordinance that deals with all of your issues relating to animals.
Okay.
And so we would definitely have to bring that back to you to adopt that ordinance.
Councilmember Oseguera, the reason it wasn't on this agenda was because there was, you had mentioned at the last meeting with regard to the presentation for Second Chance, you were going to bring it up at some later date for us to schedule that. So it would be helpful if maybe we specified the meeting where you want it to be brought up. We have the April 15th or the May 6th meeting coming up. Either one of those work for you?
Today would have been great because they were all here.
Yeah, or, I mean, if you want to make it coincide with our next report,
Let's
the
do it,
committee report,
the one in June, the first.
1st of June?
First meeting.
First meeting in June? Okay, we can put that on the list. Yeah,
Maybe we'll find the dog.
yeah, hey, we have plenty of those, trust me. Thank you.
Senor?
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Oh,
Okay.
You got a feeling.
I'll bring up what I just brought up, the purchasing policy for local vendors. We could formalize a little bit more of a percentage. Now, we need to define it as a council, define what a local vendor is, who gets the preference, and how much.
Do you want staff to make a recommendation or just to facilitate the discussion for council?
If it becomes clear
Mhm.
that there's a recommendation, yes. If not, I think we kind of got it down. We want to help the local folks out. But where it's a problem is if there's more than one vendor selling the same thing. Like Councilmember said, we have at least 3 tire vendors out there and we use them all. How do we decide which one do we go to? So that would be helpful.
Who have we used more? Who haven't we used?
But overall, I mean, the general part is just we want to give the local folks because it helps our economy. Let's see, what else? The legacy event, I was going to bring that back, but you're going to work on that, city manager, the legacy, what? Pastor
Yeah,
Alvarez
with
talked
Pastor
about?
Alvarez, I'll give him a call and we'll work that out. I think we said the May 6th meeting is when
Great,
we're going to bring
okay.
it back.
We'll bring that back on May 6th. Benevolos?
Oh, okay. I like to, I actually like to bring that police dog we have to the council, the one we have, to the, and to show the council that, hey,
Satin?
or Satan, whatever the dog they call it,
It sounds
and
like
bring it to the council. Bring it to council.
satin.
I remembered it, all right?
She looks at me kind of funny.
And then the other issue too.
Satin.
All right, all right. As long as it doesn't bite me, I'm okay. No, and also, I like to the council, I like to bring I want to say, a presentation, flock cameras to the council. This is a technology for law enforcement and also creativity in our community. It's a license meter. It reads the license and identifies the vehicle, not pictures of the assailant, but the license plate of the vehicle. Within seconds, it contacts law enforcement and it tells you location where it's at. And the reason why I'm telling you this, I'm looking for the future of this particular technology or this type of technology for new subdivisions that are built, crowded areas that are very important corridor streets, main streets. If we can put these technologies in these streets, and put this technology in play, like in subdivisions. And I was thinking maybe creating a policy to new subdivisions to fund this operation like it, like we do the LMND's projects. We can do it that way in this, it'd be safe in the communities, new subdivisions, and there's no cost out of our pocket, basically. It's self-funding by the homeowners in the area. And it's a tool for them, and it keeps their insurance rates down. Be smart, crime down, so I'm looking at those numbers, look at, in the future.
Who's gonna bring, you're gonna bring that?
Actually, the chief is gonna meet with that particular group, on the 15th, right, Chief?
On the 17th, and
On the
we can talk
17th,
about
I'm
that a little
sorry.
bit more.
I'm 2
Mr.
days early,
Avalos,
right?
Councilmember Avalos, during our department update, I can kind of get you a little bit more
Yeah,
information.
if you're willing to, when you talk to her, ask her if she's willing to come to the council and do a presentation, and show us to the council. and to the
Councilmember
public.
Avalos, so it's funny that you bring that up. We, during our budget meeting today with Police Department, that is actually a request that we plan on making to the council for flock
Oh,
cameras
okay. No,
specifically.
I know, it's good.
Yeah, and so I think it might be worth at that time giving you a presentation as to what the flock system
Yeah, what it
entails.
does.
I mean, it's a license plate reading system.
Yeah, no,
and,
no, no.
So are you okay at the April 28th budget meeting, 22nd? No?
It would probably, I think probably more appropriate when we do our budget. We present our budget request,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
The 22nd
Which is
meeting?
the 22nd.
We have a
In-
special
in-
meeting on
in
the
May.
22nd.
In May, because
April.
we've got to meet with the vendor on the 17th of April. We've got to show them, hey, this is what we're hoping to capture. Really sit down and analyze the program, what their capabilities are, and then decide how many cameras we can. I'd like to give you what I'd really like to do, and then what's more palpable for the council.
Yeah.
But getting some hard numbers out there.
How much
leave it
time
on-
will you need for that, Chief? To get both,
So
Plan
I-
A and B down?
Mr. Mayor, I was hoping like in May when we bring the budget
The
to
draft
you.
budget.
Yeah, the draft budget. At that time, we could then, and we have to coordinate with the flock representative and their availability as well. But we won't meet until April 17th to show them this is what we're hoping to
Well,
accomplish.
I think what the council member is asking is just the presentation on what the cameras do.
Yeah,
right?
this is a
Is that-
presentation. I talked to the individual, Chief,
Flock people.
and she knows who you are, trust me. And she says she's willing to come to the council and do a presentation to all of us.
So you want to hear
and to
from the flock
public.
people?
Yeah.
Okay.
flock people. And they actually do the presentation. We're not talking about buying it right now, but
Those presentations.
to actually educate us on this technology, okay?
He's ready. He's ready for it.
I know he's ready.
Let me talk to
No,
her
no,
and see what her availability
Okay,
is like.
If she
You
could
talk-
come in
you
at
talk
an
to
April
her.
meeting, that would be awesome, even if we have to schedule a
Yeah.
workshop. Thank you. Chief.
And the other issue too, since I got you here, Chief, I need, well, training, I know that I need more ARs in those vehicles, okay? I didn't see that many ARs in those vehicles, okay?
Would it be, Mr. Mayor, would it be more appropriate to discuss during the department update? I can answer that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because this is future agenda items.
Councilmember, are you okay with the chief discussing the AR issue
Okay.
during
All
this
right, we'll
report?
discuss
It's
it.
future agenda.
All right, I don't know.
Okay, go for it.
And also, since I'm here, I know, I like we do the budget, on the financing. I like to see the budget for the seniors, how it's funded, the grants and the food, and how much money is available, and is it a separate account? Or I'd like to see there's a separate account deal. In the past it was, but I don't know if it is now. Okay, if it's just one clumped item, I just want to see if it's separated, on that issue. And also when the stoves coming in for the, oh, okay, that's
Getting
fine.
ahead of yourself.
Ahead of myself. That's it, guys.
Just kidding.
And I have one,
Mayor Pro Tem.
sorry. I need to know, are you going to present this on your report? But I'd like to know, an update on our new lights for Schaefer Park?
Yeah, that'd be update.
I'll discuss that further in the department update.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, good.
Now, I was just gonna say that, piggybacking on what Councilman Avalos was saying, um, there's discussion, and we went to see the Fancher Creek project, which is the one they want to bring to Selma, the same developer. And one of the things they're talking about is doing substations at their like over there. They're trying to put a substation there, and they were talking about putting a substation here if it comes to fruition at the Casitas development to help out.
I can talk about that, Councilman Rodriguez, during our department update if you like.
Sure.
It-
Go for it.
Financials department update. It's gonna be a big departmental update.
We better get started on it.
Great. Okay, with that, we will move on to departmental reports. City manager?
I will leave it to the rest of the staff to provide updates. Nothing to report. Thank you.
City attorney Costanzo?
Nothing to report.
All
Mr.
right,
Mayor.
deputy city manager, development services.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a request on an update regarding status of Rockwell Pond and the progress made towards developing that area for a community resource, an open space area or sports facility, what have you. If council recalls, the funding that was allocated to Rockwell Pond was reallocated in 2021 to the development of the 10-acre park at Thompson and Saginaw. Staff is working on the plans for that park at this time. We've gotten to about 95% construction drawings for that project. And we're working through site issues, coordination issues with a proposed development around that project, as well as coordinating with CID for the undergrounding of facilities adjacent to the park, as well as coordinating the undergrounding with the active transportation project for the trail along Valley View Basin. With that, though, staff has re-engaged with the developer of the Selma Grove project, and we've had fruitful discussions with him. He's preparing, to approach the city with his project, moving forward with preparing talking points for a development agreement similar to what you guys have considered in the past for other projects. But as part of that discussion, the conceptual designs for Rockwell Pond have been brought up again, which also coincides with the city's Parks Master Plan, which is a policy document for where we put those type of facilities, which we anticipate bringing in May to your council for adoption. That document would outline that strategically, some sort of regional facility would make sense at Rockwell Pond. Therefore, the policy of the city, if that plan is adopted in that fashion, would be to construct some sort of facility that would coincide and be a hub, a node to bring people to that area, which would also help facilitate or cohabitate with the regional commercial proposed in that area, which this particular developer believes would help his project. And so all of those items are what we have kind of going on in development services right now, amongst other things. But specifically with regard to Rockwell Pond, it is an item that will be coming again before your council here pretty soon, either in the form of the Parks Master Plan, development agreement for the proposed project, or acquisition or coordination with CID.
I have a question for you in regards to that, exactly what you're talking about. And I know we had spoke about this in speaking about Selma Grove, one of the biggest problems we were having was the lift station. So that would allow us to actually move a lot of the sewage and stuff. Where are we at there on that lift station?
You're talking about sewer in Floral. So the sewer master plan that was adopted by SKF identified Rose Avenue as needing to be upgraded, as well as the Rose Avenue lift station needing to be upgraded. Staff is working on resubmitting our EDA grant for about $3+ million to help facilitate some of those improvements. We were told that we needed additional environmental for the installation of that sewer extension project to that area, but I believe council member is referring to the Rose Avenue lift station, which is identified in our master plan as needing to be upgraded, and it's generally a condition of approval or impact fees could be applied to that, but generally speaking,
Well, I think Councilman Trujillo was also referring to any development, like a regional sports facility, would require a lift station that would direct sewage down to Floral and then to Rose. And part of the cost of developing Rockwell Pond as a park would have been installing a lift station on the facility, right, for concessions, restrooms, those kinds of things. But then I don't think SKF outlined a new lift station on Floral. It was just directing everything to existing upgrading facilities. Okay.
I know we were having lots of discussion in regards to that, and that was one of my concerns, that I thought that even though we're moving along with different directions, that is still one of our priorities, because if tomorrow morning we decide to do that park, we need to have it done. So probably one of the biggest priorities we should be thinking about.
Thank you.
Okay. Administrative Services Director,
Nothing to report.
City Clerk.
As a reminder to our elected officials that we will be hosting on Thursday, April 3rd, from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Senior Center, a training that is IRMA sponsored. It is entitled Best Practices in the Public Service. We have approximately 23 attendees that will be there, and they're from surrounding cities as well. And an added bonus of this is that it will satisfy the 2 hours of sexual harassment training that you are required to attend.
Great. Thank you for that. All right. Finance Director Moreno.
A budget, so we can address that at the workshop on April 22nd. So that's one report for the budget, so excited about that. My second report is the financial report for ending 6/30/2024. So we finally have the report for the audited financial statements. I've been working with our auditors, Brian Jolly, to come to a meeting. Unfortunately, the April 15th is tax day. He's not able to come, so we're hoping to bring it on May 6th council meeting to present the audited financial statements.
What about a current financial right now? Just a picture of where we are in time right now.
We can bring that up.
You bring that at the next council meeting?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can bring it with the budget workshop,
April 26th.
Yeah.
April 22nd. That, we were planning
A
on.
column with
providing-
actual current numbers and then what we're proposing for 25-26.
Just year to date. That's what I'd like to see. Current financial. I'd like to see where we are in a reserve.
You're,
We need to know.
you're asking for trial fund balances,
Yeah,
right?
like a trial
Okay.
balance.
Okay.
But I want to know the statement of net cash position. I want to know where we are. We haven't
Want
had
us
that in quite a while. I want to
Email
see
that
it.
information to you, or do you want it to be?
You
at
can
the
email it. That'd be
workshop?
great. Email
Would
to
that be
every
okay?
council member.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Fire Chief Webster?
Just a couple things to report on. The first thing, the fire department was selected as a early onboarder for the nearest reporting. We're required to report to the federal government to a program that used to be called NFIRS, and they've revamped that program, and it's now called NERIS, and which is the National Emergency Response Information System, and that's where the federal government gets all of their response statistics related to emergency services. They will be rolling out that program as a mandatory system starting next year, I believe, the following fiscal year. And we were selected out of a few agencies in the state of California to be part of the early development phases for the software company that we utilize for reporting, which is Image Trend. And so we just received notification that that initial process, actually today. So, that'll be a good process. And the good thing is we'll be working side by side with those folks to work out any of the kinks. We would have had to go through that process next year. But this allows us, a little bit more time. And then also we'll have a more robust, support network because we're part of the development of the, new reporting stuff. So we're excited to participate in that. My Battalion Chief Fulner, as well as our EMS Supervisor Daniel Diaz, will be partnering with that team to go through that process. We're excited about that. And on another note, I got some other piece of exciting news that I haven't even had an opportunity to share with the city manager. We received the preliminary numbers from our ISO audit, and we increased in classification to a Class 2 department. So we'll be at 2X. That is good for our community. I'm not sure, you may be more of an expert on that, Mr. Mayor, with regards to how that impacts insurances. But I will be bringing that to council in the future once I receive the entire report to share. So, end of report.
Awesome news. Thank you, Chief. Police Chief Alcaraz.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So a few updates. So in regards to the ARs, Councilmember Avalos, those are offered to all of our personnel. They, right now, they're not mandatory. If our personnel chooses not to carry it, then we can't make them carry equipment that they choose not to. Additionally, we qualify our personnel twice a year to carry that equipment. They also have to go to training, additional training, to carry that equipment. So as soon as people are qualified or to be able to carry that piece of equipment, we then send them to training and then they qualify twice a year. We have extra ARs. We just, again, people either have chosen not to carry them or they are just in the process of getting qualified. We do have quite a few new personnel. It takes a little while to get them into that training.
No, the reason why I'm asking, when I was on a council before, we have developed a plan for that particular item before you weren't here at the time. And they were purchasing them and training them. And I think it's another, it's like your revolvers. You guys are changing your revolvers, your weapons to a better qualified weapon. But at the same time, being in a ride along, I want the officers to expect the unexpected, okay? And I want everybody to come back home to their families, everybody, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is, if you get in a firefight, in a distance, you don't know what every situation. When you see those firearms taken off those streets, especially those guys that had the piercing bullets and all that, not the pistols and everything. This is the rifles themselves. So I want to make sure that under those situations that you're able to neutralize the situation, whatever it takes, okay? And I want to make sure that you have the best equipment out there and the safety. I want everybody to come back. I want you guys all come back alive, safe, everybody. And also I want you, when you catch the assailant, I want to make sure they're arrested and without due process of law, you know what I mean? And that's me, okay, guy? I want to make sure. I've been in up situations. I've seen it. Last ride along, we deal with the homeless issue that Scott brought about earlier today. We dealt with those, and and the parks were at night. The guys did a good job. They cleaned the parks. No one's in the restrooms. Bathrooms are locked. Parks were clean. Downtown street was clean. We had to take one individual away at the church over here by Foster Freeze, but everything was done correctly by the officers. Okay, keeping the streets at night secure for the business owners downtown, and even Walmart over there, the areas like that, areas that are considered red zones. I call them red zones. They did their job more than usual, what they had to do. Okay. All right, and so that's That's me, Rudy, okay?
I appreciate it, sir. I would hate to give someone a piece of equipment that they don't feel comfortable with. That could create an issue as well. And it's weighing the necessity, and then the desire again, kind of like some of the other programs that we have. We want to put people in positions that are going to make them feel comfortable and make them feel successful. And that piece of equipment and an assault rifle is, there's a lot of, training that goes along with it, a lot of responsibility as well. So again, but we do have AR-15s available for our personnel. We again would send them to training, and then they qualify twice a year to ensure that they're competent with that equipment, so that they do feel comfortable deploying that out on the streets while they're working. So I just kind of want to let you know about that. Yes, sir.
Since I got you online, there's where you can fingerprints the individual on site. I can't think of the name of it.
So the blue check,
Yes.
the Fresno County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, there you go.
Has that equipment, and they are transitioning into new blue check equipment that we still need to get from them. So because the old equipment is antiquated and just doesn't work. So we're still working with the sheriff's office to get the newer updated hardware to
Because
really use.
that's another tool on site where people, where they arrested this individual, he had 3 names, don't get me wrong, he had 3 names. But this tool right now would actually, I've seen it work, and it's a great tool. So I know we have to look at the budget, if situations like this, for you guys to be safe on the streets.
We appreciate that, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
are we good? You
There
done?
there was also, Councilmember Osigeta asked about substations. Councilmember, actually, before Chief Webster came on board, I think Jerome had just been here and we really started to get involved in planning with our new personnel. We've had that discussion from his first coming on, because I think substations is going to be our future as we start to expand to the west and then to the north of us. I think I envision seeing a substation with a fire apparatus as well as police apparatus equipment to the west of Freeway 99. Now, where exactly will be dependent on the plans for the city of Selma, and then to the north, because I would envision that at some point the city of Selma will be go all the way up Dinuba to McCall, that far north, and then having a substation in that general vicinity would be helpful as well. It would give us a public safety footprint that is going to enhance public safety and throughout our city as we grow. So I do agree with you, right? If we can get developers to help fund those projects, those are always ideal, and that's the direction I would love to go. I don't know that it'll happen in my lifetime, but yes, sir, we're absolutely having those discussions because it's a lot less expensive for them to do it as opposed to us. So yes, sir, thank you so much for bringing that up. Additionally, the flock, the only reason, and I kind of understood what you're saying, Mr. Avalos, and I apologize, I didn't explain it correctly, is I was hoping just to get that vendor down here all at once when we give you our budget request, and she could kind of expand a little bit on exactly what that equipment does, so it's all fresh and you get it all at one sitting, But we can bring her here, again, I'll check with her schedule to see if we can't get her here sooner, so that she can just tell you about the program. So thank you, sir. We absolutely appreciate the support. I think that's a great segue for the technology and how we enhance the effectiveness of our patrolmen. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, we can bring our new patrolmen in once they get off FTO and introduce them to the council so that all of our community members can kind of meet and greet them. I just wanted to have that swearing in where the family member pins the badge. I'd really like that to be a kind of private ceremony for them so they feel very honored. And as well as sometimes, when these guys go to the academy, then they hear about all the, we always train for worst case scenario, right? And for me, I always take a different way home because I know I upset a lot of people just by the nature of what I do. And I really, for my family, I don't really show a lot of pictures of my family to the public because I'm trying to protect them. And I think that for a new officer, they're already hypersensitive to their safety. Them showing their families and loved ones to a community that they're going to be protecting might just kind of not make them comfortable or the family comfortable. I mean, that's the reality of where we're at. So it's not, it's not that I don't want to introduce, it's just trying to weigh all those different desires, comfort levels, and then still making sure that people know about our personnel.
The reason I bring that up, Chief, is because I just want it very clear, you don't operate in your own sphere as the PD. You are a family, of course, but you're part of our larger family. And we want to know who has guns around us too. So we look at our safety as well, and we want to know who's protecting us, so we know who's on the force. And that's fine. You can bring them to city council meeting, but we would like to see, I just recall when we had the last badge pinning out in the park. It was nice at Lincoln Park. It was spring. It was not hot. In fact, it was a little nippy that day. It was April, and that was a very nice day. It was a combo. It was a combination fire and PD badge pinning ceremony, and I thought that went off very well. So it can be done, and that's why I bring that up, just to reinforce that the PD is part of the larger family of our Selma community. And I'd love to see that. And, it's, I think we should know who our officers are on patrol and know them by sight so that, we get that bond with our PD.
I agree, and I hope that by their kind of engagement that we're really trying to push, that they're going to really get to know them extremely well in a very organic setting that is much more intimate. So I do appreciate that, sir. We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you. Public Works Director Hahn?
Okay, I have quite a few things. I'll go as quick as I can. I'll start with the oven ranges. So I signed the contracts to order those 2 ranges 2 weeks ago. Thought that they would be ordered as soon as they received the signed proposals, and found out the end of last week that they actually needed to receive payment before they order them. So the check is being ran this week. They're going to be ordered. I actually ended up I was barely over the 15,000, which it was 7,500 a piece allotted minus the taxes. Taxes were unknown at the time. I got them for under 16,000, so I was just over 15. And I actually got an extended 4-year warranty on both of them. They only come with a 1-year warranty because of what they're used for, industrial kitchen preparation, but we got the warranty with that. So I think we did really good with that. As soon as they arrive, they will be delivered and we will install them. So that is happening. Schaefer Park lights. Schaefer Park lights are down, as we spoke at the last council meeting about. Those came down. All the lights have been moved to the courtyard on Nebraska. All of the poles that were deemed unfit for use were cut up and put into a recycle bin, which will be sent to the recycle steel dealer, and we'll get a check for that material. I am working with Musco and a couple other companies to try to get pricing together. They're asking for mapping of the park. Musco actually wants to come out and walk it with us. And so we're going through that process, but I want to remind the council, I'm still trying to coordinate with Krazan, the material testing company, to come out and do the hydraulic pull tests on the foundation. A big part of that project is going to be if we have to replace the foundations that are currently existing. Until we do that testing, I do not know. We will not be able to give you a true number as to what it's going to cost to do that project. So I'm a little reserved about throwing numbers out there until I get all my facts together and can present something to council that is realistic for what we're looking at to replace that. In the meantime, we are still working with the grants manager, Brittany, and she is looking for every opportunity for grant options, even match grants, that will help offset the cost of what that project is going to be. So that is in process, and we're not stopping on that. Krazan has a phone call to them. We're waiting for scheduling. Their scheduling coordinator told me yesterday that they would be back to us by the end of the week. They only have 2 people in-house that do that testing, and Krazan works all over the state of California. So we're kind of limited, but that is our local material testing company. So we are working on that. We have ordered the ADA push button door opener for the senior center. My supervisor talked to the company that's supplying that material today to verify when they were going to get it. They said that they're expecting a 2 to 3 week lead time to receive that. As soon as they receive it, they will put us on the schedule and come out and install that. I can tell you that last Friday, my supervisor met with Mark Alves Electrical, our local electrician that does a lot of work for the city, and met with the company that's going to install them to make sure that we had proper power supply. Like, we're going through all that process to make sure that when the material comes, it'll literally be a day or two of install and it will be done. As soon as we finish that one, we will order the material and do the one for the city hall door as well. So we're moving forward with that as well. The Salazar Playground has, that date has been pushed a couple of times due to weather events. They were supposed to start it last Monday. Last week, they called and told us it would be this Monday. Because of the rain we had yesterday and today, they pushed it now to next Monday. So the contractor's on board. The equipment's already been delivered 2 months ago to the vendor. So that should be happening starting next week. We also have a meeting tomorrow with the pool company that helped us get the splash pad back functional. We had to order a new push button that you actually step on that turns the water on. The thing had been not used, it had been unused for so long that the button was not functioning. So we got that last year. And we're just having to install it, and we waited until now because we're trying to get it functioning just before school gets out for summer. So that is also happening. Tomorrow is the meeting with that company to install that push button. So that should be done at that point. We're continuing, we started continuing this week working on the Hollywood lights around town. We have found a couple more of them yesterday and today that had to be taken down because they were unfit to remain in place. We could not secure them. We only have a total of 3 that have had to come down so far. We do have miscellaneous parts from other lights that are stored out at the yard. So once we get through all of them and make sure that the ones we're keeping up now are secured, we will actually go back and see if we can scavenge through some of those extra parts and actually put the 3 that we have now or any additional ones that we have to take down. We're trying to actually rebuild them so we still have the original Hollywood lights. So continuing to work on that. Street signs, I was gonna wait till the end, but I have to stand up for this. I don't know if you guys have all been looking, but you guys have been staring at a couple.
Couldn't miss it.
At a sign for the majority of. These are the current street signs that we're printing all over town. You guys have all seen them. This is actually done now with our new 3D printing machine. So before we were getting the already reflective blue backing blanks, and then we were having to print the letters and the numbers, cut them out individually, and then align them on the signs to put the sign together. So if you rubbed across them, the letters actually were raised. They weren't part of the sign. These are now all one part. These are printed on now. And what I wanted to bring this to the council for is for a couple of reasons. One is that we have to buy white reflective. So all the blue that you see here, that is ink. Okay, my ink cartridges for that printer are $170 a piece. There's 7 of them in that printer. This is the same cost to any sign shop. So if I was to sub out all of the sign making to a sign shop, they're going to be super expensive, mainly because of the ink being printed. So in going through the process of onboarding this new printer and everything in the last several weeks, we've done a couple of test studies just to kind of see what we can and cannot do with the printer. One of the things I asked my staff to do is I said, hey, what would it look like with white reflective and blue letters? And so they actually printed one out. And what you got was that. And so when I first saw that, I thought, well, that's so much less ink. It's more sustainable to print in that manner. But we've already gone through 4 districts now, and we have these signs done. I'm not going to go pull these signs down and redo them for at least 5 years when the reflective wears, and DOT requires us to go through and recycle those signs out. But what came to my mind is the downtown district. And how do you identify the downtown district? And we're going through all the cafe lights, the trees, the beautification, everything with the bid committee. And again, I come from San Luis. That's the only municipality I've worked for. The downtown Mission District is identifiable by their street signs. They have different street signs, different colors, different lettering, and it's very identifiable. Just driving into town, you're like, oh, I'm in the downtown district. So I thought, well, what if we actually identified the downtown district with our same colors, but we did it opposite? And we even had, thank you to Alicia, if you're watching out there, I had her print out the downtown logo. And I just wanted to stick it on there. And we can change size and all location. But I wanted to bring that and show council and just kind of put the bug in your ear, like, think about that. Think about what you think about what it would be like to separate out the downtown district and make it identifiable with a sign that's also more sustainable for me to print. And I can tell you some of the big signs that we have out here, the big ones, it would be great to be able to just print the blue over the white reflective because those signs are gonna ink up like crazy. So I wanted to bring these and just kind of show everybody and members of the community, if you want to come up and look at them afterwards, just think about it and see what you guys think. And for later meetings, we can discuss the options of possibly doing that for the downtown district.
Can we see a cost difference between doing the blue and between doing?
So I can tell you that this sign, just for an example, printing signs like this, I get about a month, 6 to 8 weeks out of a printer cartridge. That's working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, printing, just pumping signs out. I get 3 to 4 months like this. So I can put numbers together and show you, but I mean, you can kind of do the math in your head.
Does that white get dirty?
Well, they all get dirty. It will not discolor like brown or yellow or anything.
Are they laminated? Are they laminated?
Laminated.
Yeah,
This
like
is all
lamination.
one piece.
I mean, you put lamination across so they'll last longer.
No, yeah, so we buy the metal blanks, these thin metal blanks that are
Uh-huh.
inside. And then we put the signs through the machine, prints them out, and then these things, literally you cut them right off of the roll of reflective paper and you stick them on the.
What do you do with spray paint? How do you get spray paint off? They get tagged.
So hopefully, I haven't seen any of these street signs tagged. There's probably some somewhere, but these signs have to be a minimum of 7 feet off the ground. So for somebody that's DOT standard. So for somebody to walk up and just try to tag it, it's not an easy task. So.
Mike, I like it. I just think that the logo downtown needs to just be a little bigger.
Right, and we
But it
can
looks
change
nice.
size, the location, we can adjust all of that. I can tell you to your question, Mr. Mayor, that we have purchased a roll of clear film. And we did that because I wanted to see if we could get more life out of the signs, the reflectiveness of the sign, by covering it with clear. So we have done a couple of signs with clear. So there is an option to have a clear over it that would be easier to remove the graffiti, that would not be directly irritating the reflective paper that we're actually printing on. The only problem that we had with the clear was the guys did 2 signs with it, and to get the bubbles out, it was really, they struggled a little bit. But it was our first run. It's trial and error. We learn how to do it as we go. I can tell you, when we first started printing signs, Ivan was not moving real fast through it. He'd maybe get 5 to 10 signs a day. The guy's pumping out 30 to 40 signs now. So it's just repetition. It's just like being in a batting cage and getting your reps hitting the ball. So we'll get better as we go. We've only been what I will call a fully functional sign shop for about 2 months now. And again, we're on our 4th district, almost finishing up and getting ready to move to the 5th. So I'm really proud of not only the work the guys are doing, but the way that we have set up our shop to where we are self-sustaining. And I can tell you that I already have requests from Daniel Galvez, who is the director in Kingsburg. I have requests from Eric Rocha and Fowler. They're like, hey, can we work out a deal? Because we order street signs, it takes us 5 to 8 weeks to get them, and we're paying like through the roof for them. And so they're already talking to me like, hey, what have you guys got going on over there?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty proud of where we're at compared to where we were a year ago.
Good deal. Thanks for the initiative.
Yeah.
Good
I
deal.
like that.
Is that the end of your report, Director?
One other thing that I have, on the week of May 19th through May 23rd is National American Public Works Appreciation Week. And so last year was my first year as a director, and I tried to put a little something together to get the public to come out and celebrate public works, and it didn't happen. This year, on Friday, May 23rd, from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock at the Pioneer Village, we will have the City of Selma, the City of Fowler, the City of Kingsburg, Haker Equipment, who we rent the big Vector rod truck from, PG&E, Mid-Valley Disposal, and I think that that's it. If I'm missing somebody, forgive me. We will be celebrating American Public Works Week on that evening. We're probably going to have some local musicians that are going to play some music, live music in the Cabana area of the park. The assets will be set up around the park. Mid-Valley is barbecuing free hamburgers and hot dogs for anyone that comes. PG&E is going to have bounce houses. Haker's providing all of the beverages for everybody. And so I'm just inviting the public and the council to come out and celebrate Public Works. Get to know us, get to know your surrounding community Public Works employees, and just kind of understand a little more of what we do behind the scenes, and just give us your support. So,
Awesome. Thank
end
you.
of report.
Thank you for doing that. Chief, before I forget, I got a report, Chief Alcarez. There's someone taking photos going in at the dance studio and at the art center, and he's creeping them out. This is just a report I just recently got. If you could ask patrol to take a ride around there during performances and practices.
Sure thing. We've already are aware of that. We've already identified the individual.
Okay.
He's a Selma resident, and unfortunately, at this time, no crime has been committed, but we'll continue to monitor.
Okay. All right, council reports. Councilmember Avalos.
Oh, I attended the SKF Mixer. That was a great event. And of course, earlier I talked about a ride along. That was great. Good adventure there. And today I thank the Public Works showing us the signs, and police officers doing a presentation on their report. Thank you, Rudy, very much. And also I thank the people who work for the city. I thank them for what they do, okay? And this young lady, I don't know who she is, nameless, but we're here. Okay.
Ms. Breyer's our new Animal Services Director.
Oh,
We didn't
okay,
get an
all right.
opportunity to formally
hey.
introduce her yet.
Well, okay, all right. Thank you. Now I know who you are. And that's all I got to say. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Councilmember Trio.
Just two things. One, I will not be attending the sexual harassment class. I'd like to just say that, so maybe you can email me some other section I could do, or, okay. Second one is, and it's kind of funny because I got a lot of residents, we have two new additions to our family, Lace and Tank. Those are, they're 6 months old. You know, our dog passed away about 4 months ago. And Lace and Tank right now weigh 69 pounds. They're only 6 months old. Maddie's, still pushing along at 12 years old. I had a lot of residents from my district send me cards, and I didn't know they were listening and watching, but so I wanted to just to reflect and tell them thank you, and tell you guys that, when you don't have kids and you have these dogs, and we just love them to death. So we have two great Pyrenees puppies. They're 6 months old. They're about 69 pounds right now. We're just loving them, and we're loving Maddie. So I just want to say that because a lot of people watch, and I didn't know they watch, but they sent a lot of cards. So I want to thank them for all the cards, and just tell them that we're walking around every morning. We're walking our dogs, and they're there cheering us on and telling us that's nice. So just that. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Oscara.
The only thing that I attend a lot of stuff, but I went to the Mixer at SKF. It was a great event, got to meet a lot of people and network. Also, we have a new addition to our puppy family. Somebody gave up a Frenchie because they couldn't keep him, so we bought him as a foster, and he turned out to be a foster fail. That's our second foster fail. You know, if, for those that don't know what a foster fail is, you bring him with all intention to someday find him a forever home, but that didn't work. So now he's a member of our family. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Okay, I attended the town hall meeting at Legends. It was nice to hear a lot of the citizens, what they want to see, you know, what they want here in Selma. So it's always good to have a town hall meeting. I also attended the Chamber Awards, and it was an honor for me to be a president. I presented the award for Business of the Year, and that went to United Health Centers. And then on a personal note, I attended my daughter's confirmation, and it was a beautiful event that our Bishop Brenner presented the sacrament. So that was really special. I want to make a comment to Chief Alcarez. What he stated about the pinning, it's, you know, coming from a law enforcement family, I know what it feels like to have a pinning ceremony. That's very, very special, and it's a one-time or a lifetime experience to go through. I have to say, I agree 100% that we should make that very special. And I believe that doing those ceremonies at the Art Center is what we should have all the time, because it showcases what type of class Selma has. And that was a very, very special evening when they did that pinning that night for our officers and our firefighters. It was a beautiful event. I do agree that we also would like to have our members know who our new officers are. So bringing them to council and just introducing them like we normally do to all our other staff, that's also would be a special event, for council and our members of the public. So I just wanted to mention that. I wanted to also state that I was one that recommended the high-speed rail folks that we do the training here, and they do it over there where Upright used to be. And when we first attended those graduations, it was super hot. They had no air conditioning. I mean, if you know what Upright's old manufactured place, there was no air conditioning. It was hot. So I made that recommendation. I told them to utilize the Art Center for their graduations because it would showcase a beautiful event for them. These kids go through a lot, and they did. And they, it really sends a beautiful message to the families that Selma really cares. And a lot of those folks are not from Selma. They come from all over, and when they see how beautiful our downtown, our city is, it really shows people, God, I'd like to live in Selma. So those are just events that I think we should keep. If we can keep them at the Art Center, that's what we should utilize it for, because it does show that Selma does things first class, and I'm really proud of that. That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem, you just reminded me to remind the public that on Friday is our next cohort graduating from the Central Valley Training Center. So I know the mayor is going to be there, and I think the rest of the council's been invited, but definitely wanted to let the public know 11 a.m. at the Art Center this Friday. Thank you.
Can I have Wednesday, May the 13th at Maiden Voyage, coffee with the mayor. It's really coffee with the whole community. Everybody's invited. We'll be decent. We'll be respectful. We'll treat everybody with respect as members of the family. And we want you to espresso your opinion there. Yes, I did say that. I attended a LAFCO meeting, which was very interesting. I attended a bid board meeting, a community homeless meeting from Fresno County last week, which discussed the layers of funding. Tomorrow night is another meeting, a community meeting from Fresno County. The notice said 4 to 7, but It's 6 to 7. I mean, it's just got to be a typo in that. There's no way that's 3 hours, but they're very interesting. Then when they have those, I attended a Selma native L.H. McDaniel's funeral, Fresno, with Councilman Avalos. He was just a great person. He was 89 years young and grew up in Selma. Learned a lot about him at his eulogy. And he was in the Sports Hall of Fame at Reedley. He was the first African-American police lieutenant chief at Fresno PD. He just lived a remarkable life of duty and service, and he was a stern man, but he sure cared about people, and a lot of people cared about him, and you could see all the lives he touched at his funeral, and it was just beautiful to go that, and I was honored to be invited to that. I'm on that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm on the Safe Routes to School Subcommittee at Fresno Council of Governments. We're going to meet next month. Anybody have any suggestions on Safe Routes to School projects? I'll bring them up for Selma, and then I'll bring them back here. I'll report to council on what we talked about. With that, we'll move on to our last oral communications of the night. Oh, and I went to that town hall that Dwight Nelson had, and one of the topics was, you guys don't let us talk enough. That was one of the topics. And I said, we don't. We're a free speech council. We added oral communications back to the council. So if anybody's watching from that town hall, you got the last word as the people of Selma. So anybody want to have the last word tonight before we adjourn?
Stella Ramirez, Selma, California. I have a quick question. When are we gonna have the next spring cleaning, like where you can take your stuff to the, I guess, that's a transportation area? Do you guys know?
I'm looking at my calendar. I believe that next meeting, or that next cleanup event is the 26th of this month, April 26th. Saturday, and that is shown, it should be on our website, and we are also going to be sending flyers out for that. The location is not going to be at the courtyard. We tried that last November. It was too small to accommodate what we were doing, so it will be back at the Selma Unified School District bus barn, where it was previously held with Waste Management.
Okay, thank you. And then also I have, going back to the check register, I have a question. This is on here, Santa Maria, California News, and it says admin PH notice council meetings, legacy events, zoning for $875.25. What is that?
They own the Selma paper. Well, it's not Selma anymore. They own the Hanford Sentinel. Santa Maria owns the Hanford Sentinel, so that's where the city, I was told by the city manager, advertises.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of their business, but they are the Hanford Sentinel that also potentially covers Selma.
Okay. And then I have another one for, maybe the chief can answer this one. For the PD citation, parking citation for $200. What is that?
That's data tickets. They administer our our parking citations for us.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Thank you. Anybody online or on the phone?
I know, Rose Robertson, 1057 Mill Street. I know that the cafe lights and trees were just a discussion, but I know that there's a lot of talk out there, us attending the arts play Alice in Wonderland on Sunday. And you heard all the parents and everyone talking about that we're getting trees and lights, cafe lights. The word's out, obviously. One thing that I've been hearing, some of the business owners, for example, Maiden Voyage has been told they won't be getting a tree, but hopefully, you council make the ultimate, the decisions, hopefully you guys can add a tree at Maiden Voyage and one over at Brenda Solis's Central Valley. These people have put a lot of money in the buildings, and it's just to balance it out and show that eventually Second Street and First Street and now the rest of the streets are coming, but it's only fair to hopefully we can include them as well. Thank you.
Anybody else online or on the phone?
Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Thanks, everyone.